What is going on, everybody? It is the Awesemo NBA Deeper Dive, sponsored by PrizePicks. Do me a favor as you come in, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm about to break down this two-game NBA slate with Shit My Money, Adam Scherer, who, by the way, just won six figures in MLB. What was that? Friday night or Saturday night?
Cinco de Mayo.
Cinco de Mayo. Well, the exciting thing about this was that Adam apparently did not know what was going on. I did though, so I just filled him in on the ins and outs of all of how he won the money he won because he was out at bar. He was having fun. He was living his life. I'm at home looking at the baseball standings and sweating out Adam's win for him, and so just filled him in on all of that, which was fun. We're going to do a Hall of Fame read earlier, which does feature Adam. Other than that, Adam, how was your weekend?
It was good. Didn't pay much attention to basketball. Went to the Wells Fargo golf tournament on Saturday. DraftKings got me tickets to that. So that was cool, except for it being really cold and windy and raining. Other than that, it was fun. So did that Saturday and then just chilled yesterday. It was a nice weekend.
Yeah, there was some horrific scores in the golf. Like Jason Day was in a bunch of my DFS lineups. Like, oh, this looks really good. And then we got to like Saturday, I look in the afternoon. It's like, oh, cool. He's in like 15th place now after 5 holes because of the bad weather and wind. But good to see that you had a nice weekend. And also weather's getting better. I know my sister's home from college. I got my parents are back up in New Jersey from Florida. So family around, that's all well and good. And we've got some basketball to talk about for today, starting the Milwaukee Bucks against the Boston Celtics. The Bucks have now taken a 2-1 series lead. Game is in Milwaukee. Milwaukee, the slightest of favorites, 1 point. For what it's worth, we do have a lot of the sharp action in this game is on the Celtics because in general, there are more bet tickets on Milwaukee in this game, but way more of the handle is on the Bucks, which means the volume of tickets, way more of the money is on the Celtics. So the volume of tickets is on Milwaukee, but the bigger bets have come in on the Celtics for this game. I'm backing the Celtics in this spot, slight favorites. I don't know if I'm actually going to bet them just because I already have money on the Celtics for futures purposes. But that aside, Jason Tatum has really struggled so far in the series, Adam. And starting by talking about the Boston side, what do you attribute that to?
So, part of his usage rate is down. He's also shooting really poorly. I think that part of it can just be, credited to Milwaukee being a good team defensively. I assume that they would, if they have to choose between doing what they can to limit Tatum or anybody else on the team, they're going to, try and take away Tatum. But he is shooting really poorly, has about a 47% true shooting percentage in the series. Usage rates down to about 25 to 26%. Typically, when you see poor shooting like that, the drop in usage rate could in part be a factor of just he's not making his shots, but also it's probably just that they're making things difficult on him. From a DFS standpoint, the bigger thing that I'm concerned about with Tatum is just a total lack of rebounding in the postseason. In this series in particular, he's averaging 5 fewer rebound chances per 36 minutes than he did during the regular season. Overall, in the postseason, his rebound percentage is way down as well. So I am a little bit concerned about that just because when you see that kind of a drop-off, typically it's kind of by design. Like he's just not around the basket as much on the defensive end particularly. And so I am a bit concerned about that from a DFS standpoint.
And then something else when it comes to the way that we've seen the Milwaukee Bucks defend pretty much the entire season is it's kind of like the old adage about Bill Belichick where he takes away other teams' number one options. One of the reasons the Bucks are such a bad team in terms of defending three-pointers, at least statistically, is a lot of times they'll kind of sell out to defend other teams' top options. And then as a result, they'll let other teams' secondary options just shoot as many threes as they want. Like you look at the three-point stats from this series so far, and there have been a ton of wide open threes attempted by Marcus Smart, Al Horford, Grant Williams, because this team has kind of said like, hey, we're not going to let Jason Tatum beat us. If the role players are going to hit threes, so be it. And I buy into this a couple. And number one, I think that's part of the reason Tatum's efficiency is down. And I think that's why his usage is down as well, because he's facing tougher coverage and there's just other players that are open. And, it's a 2-game slate, so it's hard to say that I don't want to roster Jason Tatum. But at the very least, I think if I look at the pay-up options we have today, like Steph Curry, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Jason Tatum, he's my least favorite of the three. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's where I'm at as well. I give a slight edge to Curry. Clearly, I give an edge to Giannis, but even factoring the salary, I think Giannis looks better. So, I'm there with you. I just have enough concerns where you don't want to overstate it. It's still a 2-game slate. It's still a really, really good player in Jason Tatum, and he certainly can go out there and put up a massive game. But I do think, and like Loughran and I talked about this morning, if you just took like a random 3-game sample during the NBA regular season and told me, Jason Tatum's, usage is down or he's not rebounding or whatever, I would tell you I literally couldn't care less because it's just 3 random matchups. But to me, it is different in the postseason when you're playing the same team over and over. They're game planning specifically, for your team, your offense. I do put a little bit more stock into it. So again, I'm not projecting Tatum to like just mimic what he's done the first 3 games. I think that there is also positive regression for him, but I am concerned that the usage rate is down. I am concerned that he is nowhere near most rebounds. So that does factor in at least somewhat.
And then, I mean, the other thing too, to your point, is it's like, what are the reasons that he's struggling? Because the usage being down, like that's a tangible thing where be like, oh, this actually lowers his projection. If it's just a thing where Tatum has all of the same stats, but he's just shooting, 35% from the field, then we get to like, all right, that's going to come back up. But the drop in usage, even though it's not that he's become like a 15% usage guy, he was 24% usage last game, 28% the game before, 26% in game one. Well, for the season, he had a usage rate of 31%. So when you're looking at something like NBA DFS, where it's so pricing sensitive, it's a pretty big deal when somebody's usage drops by like 5 or 6% over the course of the series. And I tend to think that's going to keep up. And that's why I like some of the other Boston pieces more than Jason Tatum. I've gotten to Jaylen Brown more than him this series. Robert Williams, Al Horford. I think these guys are all players that are slightly better options than Tatum. But moving down, when we look at the other players on this team, where does Jaylen Brown fit in the mix for you on this 2-gamer?
I think Brown looks great. You're getting the salary discount for him off of Tatum, $1,500 less on DraftKings, but also shooting guard, small forward eligibility is nice, and you're probably getting 38 to 40 minutes from him. His usage in this series is about the same as Tatum, 25 to 26%, but rebounding numbers are better, assist numbers are better, or assist percentage rather. Not better, but it's up from where he was in the regular season. So I think Brown does look a little bit better than Tatum does. The only thing. You also, in that same price range on the other side of this game, you have Jrue Holiday at 8K, who I think looks fantastic. So that's where, maybe you lose a little bit of Jaylen Brown. But I do think from the Boston side, Brown's the guy I probably will get to the most here.
Yeah, I think, let me see what my builds have right now. I do have Jaylen Brown as my most rostered Celtic on both DraftKings and FanDuel right now. So I'll definitely be on the same page as that. Although once I make some adjustments, Robert Williams could end up coming up because I like him quite a bit. Since we have an hour to talk about 2 games and just some of the people are talking about in the YouTube chat, because I think the eye test is like the dumbest thing ever. Here's the reason why. Number one is the idea that everybody has the capability to watch every minute of every basketball game is very unlikely. Here's the other thing too. You have to remember everything that happened over the course of the year, which is one like stats record everything that happened. I watch a shit ton of basketball games. I don't remember everything that happened, all of them over the course of the season. Like I can't recall what happened in December in a random Celtics game or a random Bucks game. So to what you said in chat, where you said the eye test was overrated, I'm just kind of backing that up. But how much basketball do you actually usually watch?
During the regular season, I watch a good amount, but it's typically more like I'm just watching to sweat my teams. I'm not really watching to learn anything for DFS. Postseason, obviously the games are better, but normally by this time of the year, I'm just kind of tired of basketball, so I don't necessarily watch as much. But yeah, I mean, like there's specific things that I'll notice if I'm watching a game that can be helpful, but it's more so like things like, oh, this guy was gonna check back in, 2 minutes earlier, but there wasn't a stoppage or stuff like that. It's not, it's typically not things where it's super actionable for DFS. Like, normally I think you are going to get better DFS projections if you just, use numbers.
Yeah. I mean, there's no way to know just off the top of my head, oh, this is generally how well this team allows other centers to rebound. It's just stuff that like I wouldn't intuitively remember off the top of my head. But that aside, let's talk about Marcus Smart, who's the next guy up on the list here for Boston. And Smart has dealt with a couple different injuries this year. This series, he had a quad injury. He also had a shoulder injury that forced him to briefly miss time. So last game, he only ended up playing 29 minutes. Part of that was due to foul trouble, although part of that also could be because he wasn't quite feeling 100%. He sat out game 2. Game 1, he played 33 minutes, although also he briefly had to spend time in the locker room. What are you expecting from a minutes perspective for Smart? Because I do think it's kind of hard to nail down.
Yeah, I mean, I have him in for 35 here. 34, 35 seems right to me when you just factor in things like him being banged up, the potential of foul trouble that exists. But also, it's not like it would be shocking if he did get into the upper 30s here. So at 5,800 at 35 minutes, I think he's just kind of like a useful last guy in type piece. I'm not building around the $5,800 Marcus Smart with Tatum and Brown active, but at the same time, it's a 2-game slate. There's not a ton of options in this price range. Not a ton of guys you're going to feel good about. So he just kind of fits in here and there more so than being a priority for me.
We have a super chat here from Michael McKinney. He's asking, who are our 5 favorite tournament options on FanDuel? So there's going to be a lot of Memphis guys in the mix. Like, I think Memphis, particularly on FanDuel, really on both sides, but FanDuel especially, so hard to avoid because we've got Tyus Jones is $3,700. You got Dylan Brooks at $5,000, D'Anthony Melton at $4,700, and there's no John Morant, and I believe he's now officially been ruled out. He was doubtful last look, but either way, not expected to play tonight, John Morant. And there's just all of these guys picking up extra opportunity, extra usage, extra minutes for the Memphis Grizzlies, and it hasn't been priced appropriately. Tyus Jones, like I said, he's nearly min priced on FanDuel. And I mean, I would say that it should be changed. But remember when we saw John Morant in the regular season, it took GK and FanDuel like a month to upgrade the price on Tyus Jones. So maybe that's not coming in the near future, but I find it really hard to avoid just a lot of the value on the Grizzlies and then paying up for Giannis because he's the player with the highest projection on the slate. He's the highest salary. We have the space to get to him pretty easily. So for me, at least in the FanDuel build I have right now, the players I have most exposure to are Giannis, Tyus Jones, Dylan Brooks, Desmond Bane, and D'Anthony Melton. Is there anything else that you would add into that mix?
No, I mean, this would be easier for me to answer if we hadn't just refreshed the boom bust tool and wiped all of the data out of it. But looking, kind of just at my projections and kind of having a general idea of where ownership's going to be, I'm with you. Like Giannis and Tyus Jones, obviously they're going to be popular, but I don't really see an easy way around it. There's nobody that rivals Giannis in terms of raw points. And then Tyus Jones is very, very, very clearly the best point per dollar value on the slate. And then I'm with you on the other cheap guys too. I do think that if you maybe you're going to get lower ownership on Brandon Clark than you are guys like Bane and Brooks, just because Bane and Brooks are starting and Clark's coming off of a game where he didn't play as much. So if that's the case, then I like Clark in tournaments. But similarly, if he is projected for, more or less the same ownership, then I'm going to prefer going to the other 2 Memphis guys. You can throw Melton in there too at 4,700, somebody that I think, if he's a little bit lower owned, I like. If he's more popular, I don't. Jaren Jackson probably is actually an interesting tournament piece just because on FanDuel he is so much more expensive. So I guess my answer is all the Memphis guys, but pay attention to the ownership because I think that if you get a little bit less ownership on guys like Brandon Clark and Jaren Jackson, I like using them in tournament lineups. Because everybody's going to go to the very obvious Bane and Brooks pieces, but it's not like it's a guarantee that they're the guys that step up as opposed to Clark, Melton, Jackson.
All right, so let's get back to talking about the Boston Celtics now. And I want to ask you specifically about the big man situation. So I've been very high on Robert Williams as a tournament play lately, just thinking eventually we're going to see the minutes on an uptick. And then once the minutes are there, we know the points per minute production is there, and he's going to have a big game. So last time out, I kind of lucked out because I was playing a lot of Robert Williams under the assumption that the minutes were going to start to see an uptick because game 1, he makes his first start of the postseason after coming back from knee surgery. He ends up playing 22 minutes. Game 2, he plays 25 minutes, and he was in foul trouble that game. So I'm just reading the tea leaves. I'm going, hey, we got 25 minutes the game before. He was in foul trouble. The playing time's trending up. I think we're getting somewhere around 30 minutes from Time Lord. And that's not the case. He ended up playing 23 minutes. I have a bunch of exposure to him, and he just crushes in that playing time. So if I'm only going to think he's going to play 23 minutes, I still like him, but I don't love him. But I still think there's upside for more playing time. So where do you stand on how much run he gets?
Yeah, I went 26, and I'm with you. Like, I had the same issue because he hasn't played more than 26 minutes yet since he returned. But at the same time, that he's a useful part of Boston. It's not like, he's just some placeholder that they would ideally only be playing, 22 or 23 minutes. If he avoids fouls and is healthy, they would love him to play, 30 minutes, I would think. So I went 26. It gives me... It makes him look okay at 5,200. Doesn't stand out as a great option, but certainly somebody that you can get to in tournaments at what should be relatively low ownership. So yeah, I think there's just a lot of volatility in his minutes. Like, he could easily play 22, and it shouldn't shock anybody if this is the game he gets to 30.
Yeah, and then once again, I think he's pretty volatile. And then if he gets more minutes, do you assume those are just coming from Grant Williams primarily?
I'm not really. I don't know. That was kind of a spot that I was struggling with when I was trying to project minutes because Williams has played at least 32 minutes in like 5 of the last 6 games. I think it is. You could, and Williams can play multiple positions. So like you could get minutes taken, like Pritchard losing even more minutes if Williams plays a couple more minutes. But again, I think it's also we're most likely just talking about a couple more minutes. I don't think that you're suddenly going to get like 10 more minutes from Robert Williams to where Grant then I would say Grant Williams for sure is losing minutes. But here I think it's like maybe he plays like 30 instead of 32 in a normal rotation if Robert Williams picks up a couple more minutes.
And then just because they are kind of correlated here in terms of playing time, and not a crazy amount, like you said, we're not expecting 10 more minutes for Robert Williams or anything like that. But any few more minutes he plays could come from Grant Williams. Grant Williams has played so much better in the postseason than we've basically ever seen from him from a fantasy perspective. And on one hand, I tend to think like, hey, Grant Williams is a really shitty fantasy producer. I don't usually want to play a lot of him, particularly when he's chalk. But we've now seen from him in the playoffs that he consistently is and ends up with more fantasy points than projected. He also ends up being higher owned than projected. Do you think that Grant Williams in the postseason is just improving and is a better player than what we've seen before? Is this a good matchup for him? Is it fluky? Like, where do you stand on what we've seen out of Williams? Grant Williams,
I don't think it's like he improved from the regular season to the postseason. I think the minutes are the big thing. You're just talking about somebody. He wasn't a horrible point per minute guy in the regular season either. He's at 0.76 DraftKings points per minute in this series. Overall this season, I'm pulling the numbers up now, but off the top of my head, I think he was in that same range. I think it's just that he was at 0.69 in the regular season. So, more or less the same. I think it's just that he's such a useful piece for Boston because he can play multiple positions. He defends well. He's a good 3-point shooter, which is useful in this matchup. So I think all of that plays a role here in why he's getting more minutes.
We have a super chat here from our guy, Jeff Williams. He's asking about a high dollar DK single entry and wants to know which combination do we prefer? Jaylen Brown and Jaren Jackson Jr. or Steph Curry and Brandon Clark?
Brown Jackson or Curry Clark. I like both sides. I probably play the Brown Jackson one first.
Yeah, so just looking through the exposures I currently have in my builds, which is not finalized, but what I have here is I do have more exposure to Triple J than I do to Clark, and Curry and Brown are fairly close there, but it's going to be, I'll lean with you. I'll say Brown and Jaren Jackson Jr., but all 4 of those players I think are good tournament options. Like none of them are guys who'd be like, you can't play him.
Right, yeah. There's neither of those 2v2s was I just like, oh, well, I would definitely avoid that guy. Ownership would probably actually be the deciding factor for me there. I think it's close enough. But assuming ownership is similar, I would lean the Jaren Jackson, Jaylen Brown side.
Yeah, I'll pull that up just to see where we're at right here. So Jaylen Brown currently projected for 39% ownership, Steph Curry at 35%. Then Triple J projected for 29% ownership and Clark at 18%. So it looks like there is a little bit less ownership on the Curry and Clark side. Yeah, it's like 10% less aggregate ownership. So you just go with the lower owned combo there.
Yeah, sorry. What was the difference in ownership?
It's about 10%. So we've got Jaylen Brown is picking up about 4% more ownership than Curry, and then Triple J actually about 10% more ownership than Clark.
Yeah, I mean it would depend on the rest of the lineup. But I do think the ownership maybe moves it a little bit more toward the Curry side. Kind of just depends on the rest of the lineup. But like if you have one, like in high stakes, like I mean I don't know what tournament he's talking about, but let's say like the $2,000. You're only competing with 18 people or whatever it is. If you have 1 or 2 guys that are low owned, you don't need to then make another like low owned pivot. So kind of depends on the rest of the lineup.
All right. And then one more player on the Celtics I think we need to talk about here is going to be Big Al Horford. He has been one of the most popular players throughout this series. He's also become quite a bit more expensive now. Al Horford is currently up to actually on DraftKings prices come down. I don't know why I thought it was more expensive. He's only $6,600 on DraftKings right now. And on FanDuel, he's up to $7,400. It's the FanDuel price tag I was looking at before. That's more expensive. $6,600 on DK seems pretty unavoidable to me, considering the role Horford's played. I also think he's going to end up being more popular. Considering how much ownership he's gotten to this point, I don't envision we only see 27% owned Al Horford. I think that's a number to be overweight to, particularly on DraftKings. We could discuss FanDuel afterwards, but first, starting at Al Horford at 6,600 seems a little cheap considering the role he's played, does it not?
Yeah, I mean, it concerns me because it's still Al Horford, and not only, somebody said they can't believe Horford hasn't gotten in foul trouble yet. I'm not saying like I'm surprised or that it's going to happen tonight, but like there is still foul risk here, even though it hasn't happened yet. And then also there is Al Horford's an old man risk, but he is very useful in this matchup. For years, he's basically any opportunity, like when he's been on Boston, he's been a big part of how they try and defend Giannis. So I think that makes me feel better about his minutes. It also makes me like the rebounding numbers. You're going to have him near the basket more. You've seen that in this series. In the postseason in general, his rebounding numbers are up. But in the series, he leads the team in rebound percentage at 17%. And, he's averaging about 33 to 34 minutes per game in the postseason. So if you just go with that, playing time average and, you assume he's going to produce around the fantasy point per minute, it does make him look pretty cheap. There are a lot of guys in this price range. And I kind of made that point this morning where I don't have a strong preference or too strong of a preference between guys like Horford, Jaren Jackson, Draymond Green. They're all like power forwards in that price range. I'll let ownership do a lot of the work there. And so to your point, if we are going to get Draymond at 36%, Horford at 27, I'm fine just, kind of flipping those numbers maybe and getting a little bit more Horford.
Yeah, and by the way, because people are saying his price has gone up, it's gone up since last game, but Horford's been as expensive as 6,900 on DK in the playoffs, and FanDuel is where it's really gone up because FanDuel is currently priced at 7,400. That to me is a pretty fair price tag, and oddly, he's about the same ownership on FanDuel as he does on DK. It's hard for me to prioritize Horford when he's all the way up to 7,400. Could you convince me otherwise? At 7,400, do you think that there's still meat left on the bone in that price tag?
I think it's pretty close. Like it's a 2-game slate, so I'm not saying you wouldn't play Horford. And obviously, as the price tag goes up, the ownership comes down as well. It's certainly not as appealing as the 6,600 on DraftKings, though.
Yeah, and then as for the rest of the guys on the Celtics, I don't really think there's any other talking points. But is there anybody on Boston you're looking to potentially take a flyer on, whether it's Derek White or Peyton Pritchard? I mean, there's nobody else really in the rotation.
Not too much. I mean, you have the $3,900 Derek White, where it's like, if the rotation goes totally sideways and for some reason Derek White plays 28 minutes, maybe he gets there. But and with the way he's played from a DFS standpoint, that's still a maybe. But other than that, I think I'm pretty much just sticking to those main 6 guys, the 5 starters and Grant Williams off the bench.
Today is the last day to take advantage of one of the best offers of the year that we have over at Awesemo. And that is you can get $7 for 7 days of Awesemo Plus Platinum, 77% off our usual weekly price by using the promo code Luca at checkout. So, of course, 77, that is Luca's number, 77% off. And this will get you access to tools we have for pretty much every single DFS sport out there. MLB, NBA, USFL, tennis, F1. We've got pretty much everything covered. Once again, that is using the promo code Luca at checkout. Get 7 days of Awesemo Plus Platinum for $7. Stop guessing, start winning. Join Awesemo Plus today. Let's move on over to the Milwaukee Bucks side of the game. And a lot of people wouldn't think that the Ja Morant injury has much to do with Giannis Antetokounmpo, but here's why it does. Of all the players on the slate, if you don't have Giannis projected to score the most fantasy points, you've made an error. He is the highest upside player on the slate and the guy that deserves the highest just median projection by a pretty wide margin. And with Morant out, it is not difficult to get up to him. We have an infinite amount of value relative to most 2-game playoff slates. We've got a bunch of Memphis guys that are way underpriced. As a result, I'm getting to a ton of Giannis. Is that also an impact that you're seeing in any lineups that you think you're going to have with the absence of Morant?
Yeah. So like you said, Giannis very clearly the top raw point projected guy on the slate. If you disagree, you're wrong. There's no point in even like saying it, just you're wrong. But not only is there also more value opening up because of Morant being out, but it also takes one of those other top end guys off the slate. So when you think about guys on the slate that like realistically could sometimes score in the same range as Giannis, normally it would be Morant, Tatum, Curry. Now there's no Morant. So the only guys on the slate that like you're not absolutely shocked if they go for more than like 65 fantasy points are Curry and Tatum. So it's just one less guy that can even really work as that high upside pivot. And that's in addition to the fact that there's a lot of cheap value. It makes it really easy to get to Giannis. It's not like it's an easy matchup. I mean, I know he's been very good in the series so far. It's not like I'm looking at this saying like, oh yeah, he should just continue to destroy Boston. But with the value there is and the lack of other pay up options, I just have a really hard time getting away from Giannis. His rates are also up in this series, both his usage rate and his assist percentage. Bobby Portis moving back to the bench probably is good for him as well. Should give him more rebounding opportunities without Lopez and Portis both being out there for as many minutes. So I don't have any reason not to want to get back to Giannis on this slate.
Are you under the assumption, I've projected it this way, that Grayson Allen starts over Bobby Portis again?
That's my assumption, yes.
Okay.
They
Yeah,
won
that's
last game by like 30 something points, 30 points. So, or sorry, that's the wrong game. They won last game by 2 points. But yeah, so typically when there's a lineup change, I kind of assume that if they win, they just stick with it.
And then with that in mind, we saw last game, once again, it was Grayson Allen starting ahead of Bobby Portis. The result of that was Portis ended up playing 26 minutes off the bench. And now Grayson Allen's minutes, which I think we have to take with a little bit of grain of salt because he got into early foul trouble, he also ended up playing 26. So we saw 26 out of each of them. Do you think that more or less stays the same, or could we see more minutes go to Grayson Allen if he avoids the early foul trouble?
Yeah, I think it stays the same in the sense that you get similar minutes allocated to those guys, but I don't think you necessarily have to get 32 minutes from Pat Connaughton or 33 minutes from Pat Connaughton and only 25 and a half from Grayson Allen. Dealt with some fouls, like you said. Also, Pat Connaughton closed that game over him. If Grayson Allen's out there knocking down shots, he can very easily be in the closing lineup over Connaughton, and you see a game where Allen plays 32 and Connaughton plays 26. So projection wise, I think going around 28 apiece makes sense. I think that they're going to combine for around 56 to 58 minutes. It's just, does it end up being a 30 split or sorry, 28 split or a 32-26 split or whatever. I think it's likely that they end up, on average, if you played this game 100 times, they would end up coming in around the same minutes.
And then for me personally, when I built some lineups, because I've projected them for about the same minutes as last game, it makes neither of them very high priority plays. I ended up with some exposure to Portis and Grayson Allen, but it was fairly minimal. Is that kind of how you view these two guys as well, where it's like, hey, if they're in my lineups, it's not the end of the world, but they're not going to make it into very many?
I think I'm still getting to a good amount of Connaughton at 3,600. He's just
No, I meant Portis and Allen.
Oh, Portis and Allen. Yeah, 6K for Portis. Like, there's still a ceiling for him just because he is Bobby Portis, and if Lopez gets in foul trouble or Portis just plays his way into the closing lineup or something, we know he's a good point per minute guy, but it's just tough at 6K to prioritize that. And then the same goes for Allen, where he had that stretch where not only was he knocking down every three he took, he was also rebounding at a higher rate. But that has stopped happening as we expected it to. So I'll play some of them. I'll probably get more Allen than Portis just because he's cheaper. But neither one is somebody I expect that much of.
All right. So now I'll let you sell me on Pat Connaughton as being somebody that you want to get to here. Because I know you were trying to jump the gun there and really we're about to push Pat Connaughton. So I know you're excited about him.
Yeah. He's just cheap. I mean, if you give him even if you give him 26 minutes instead of the 32 he played last game, he's going to project well enough to get into lineups at 3,600. Obviously, if he plays 32 minutes, you're expecting him to be a really good piece at 3,600. So he's someone where, I'm not like Tyus Jones, obviously, is going to be in a ton of my lineups, and I'm excited about it. I want to play Tyus Jones. I feel very confident there. Pat Connaughton's not that kind of value play. It's more so just he's underpriced, so I'm going to get to him a lot because he opens other stuff up. You don't get the same good feeling when you look at Pat Connaughton in your lineup that you do somebody like Tyus Jones, but I still think he's just one of the best values on the slate.
All right, we'll get back to talk about Milwaukee, but first, some super chats to answer. First from Brandon Wagner. He's playing 20 unique lineups on DK. Should he play 100% Tyus Jones? I have no issue with that at all.
Yep.
His best value play on the slate.
I would assume I haven't built lineups yet, but I'd be very surprised if he's not in all 150 of mine.
I jacked up the randomness, and I still ended up getting him in almost every single lineup that I built out of 150. Really hard player to avoid today. Super chat from Mr. Prowler 4153. Guys, I've got to work here in a second. Quick question. Should we stack Boston and Philly game with Memphis value? Not necessarily. I mean, there's individual pieces that look good, but there's guys I want to play from the Warriors also. I'm going to have exposure to Steph Curry today. So I wouldn't totally avoid the Warrior side of the game.
Yeah, I kind of just view that as if that's what you're doing, then sure, there's nothing wrong with it. It's very easy to make a good lineup where you have, Giannis and Jrue and somebody from Boston, and then you're two guys from Boston or whatever, and you fill it out with Memphis value. That's fine. But there are guys on Golden State that I like as well. So it's not something I'm forcing, but it's fine.
Yeah, one thing I will say looking at my lineups, though, is of the 4 teams on today's slate, I think I have the least amount of exposure to Golden State. Yeah, I have the least amount of exposure to Golden State right now. I have Memphis, the team I get the most exposure to, pretty clear as to why. Milwaukee, the second most, just because of Giannis. And then third and fourth, it's pretty close between the Celtics and Golden State. But I think I'm going to end up with a little bit more Boston. But I don't think you should be writing off any team on a 2-game slate. But like Adam said, if you're building one lineup and that's what the build is, it's not problematic at all. Getting back to the Milwaukee Bucks, a couple players we haven't talked about. One of them being Jrue Holiday. I haven't really played a whole bunch of Jrue either in this series or in the postseason as a whole. But for today, I think the price tag is a little steep for him. $8,600 on FanDuel, $8,000 on DK is a little more reasonable. But this slate is so much different than the other slates in terms of we just have so much value available to us that I think his price point becomes a little bit less problematic. Something else to consider too is because all these teams play on the same days. Generally, other slates where we've had this matchup of games, we've had point guards to get to where it's like, oh, I have Ja Morant to pay up for, I have Steph Curry to pay up for, and there's just all these different guys that I want to pay up for. Taking Morant out of the mix, number one, creates more value, but also eliminates one of the pay up options we have on this combination of games. So Jrue Holiday, for those reasons, becomes more of a priority for me today than he has been in other slates. I will say this one thing, though. I don't think I'm going to be overweight to the 40% number on DraftKings or the 48% number on FanDuel. I think that's a little high, but I do like him more than I liked him on previous slates. Where do you stand with Jrue tonight?
I expect him to be one of my highest owned guys. He's averaged 39.3 minutes per game in this series. He has a 30% usage rate. Assist percentage is down a little bit to offset that increase in usage rate. But I think especially the 8K on DraftKings, he's just underpriced to me. Like, I think I probably get to a little bit more of him than I do Jaylen Brown. The only thing that I think is kind of working against Holiday, like, I agree with you that Morant being out takes away another one of the pay up options, and so it makes it so Holiday kind of absorbs more of that. Tyus Jones being as close to a lock as you're going to find does take away a point guard spot, and at least on DraftKings, Jrue is point guard only, so you do have a little bit less flexibility there. Whereas with somebody like Jaylen Brown, who I think is similar, he has shooting guard, small forward, so it's just a lot easier to get him into lineups. But I do actually have Holiday projected a little bit higher, and I do really like Holiday here.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think that if you're just going points per dollar, if you're somebody who plays cash games, I think Jrue is a really, really high consideration. I just ended up with, in the build that I did before we started, I ended up with 35% of him on DK, and on FanDuel, I end up with 45%. So it's not an insignificant number, just less than what we currently have him projected, because he's projected to be in nearly 50% of the lineups on FanDuel right now. I'll see how that changes when I ultimately update my lineups, but I'm most likely going to be somewhere around the field on him. I don't think he's going to be somebody who's in like 60 or 70% of my lineups. Filling out the players from the Milwaukee Bucks, Wes Matthews, he sucks, but he keeps getting run. Brook Lopez, I don't want to say Brook Lopez is bad, because I don't think that's the case, but he hasn't been a good fantasy producer in the playoffs. Last game notwithstanding, where he scored 33 fantasy points. But looking at the rest of the guys on Milwaukee, is there anything else you really want to get to?
Not as priorities. Lopez at 4,600 certainly can have a good game. His rebounding numbers have actually been up, which is good for him. Like, we know he's good at boxing out. Normally he just doesn't grab the ball, but he's been doing that more. But it's still just difficult for me to get to him as a priority. Wesley Matthews, like you said, probably playing 30 to 32 minutes. He sucks from a fantasy standpoint. I have him in for like 0.5 fantasy points per minute. So not somebody that I'm prioritizing. I think there's another, using probably. There's plenty of value on this slate, but the minutes should be there if you're in some sort of weird emergency where you need to get to Wesley Matthews.
So I did not expect this to happen on the show. Everything has changed. Adam, Robert Williams just rolled out.
All right.
So nice. There we go. I don't have to worry about predicting his minutes anymore. That's been taken off the board. So talking about Robert Williams now, I'm sitting here pacing myself nice and slow, thinking we've got all day to talk about each individual player. Well, not the case anymore. No Time Lord. What is your immediate reaction to him being out?
I feel better about my 32-minute, or I feel better about my Grant Williams projection.
Yes.
Horford looks better. Should be more rebounding opportunities there. Maybe you see Tatum's rebounding numbers bounce back a little bit too. Like, if you're going to get, I assume Grant Williams starts here.
Tice could start. Tice was starting.
Could go Tice.
Let's see. So what was the rotation?
They were, and by the way, even before. I think.
Yes. So even though Tice started, actually, I forgot. He got in foul trouble the first game of the Nets series. So game 2, Tice started. He played 31 minutes. Grant Williams still played 32 off the bench. So this is the last time we saw Robert Williams out. This was the starting lineup for the Celtics. And obviously different matchups, so we could see something different. But it was Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Al Horford, Daniel Tice. Tice played 31 minutes at center. Off the bench, we got 32 minutes out of Grant Williams. I mean, 30 minutes is a lot to predict Tice for, but I don't think it's totally out of the question.
Yeah, I guess it's not. So in the last game he started, he played 20 minutes against Brooklyn. That was with Williams off the bench.
Yeah.
And 4 fouls, like 20, 31, 17, and 20 minutes in the 4 starts against Brooklyn. I think expecting like low 20s makes sense. I mean, so I had said I had Robert Williams at 26. I'm certainly not going higher than that on Daniel Tice. I think that going like 20 to 22 on Tice makes sense. And then, maybe giving a couple more to Peyton Pritchard or something.
Yeah, and I guess I'll use that as that. Oh, by the way, now we just got the starting lineup. So really fuck me now because Grant Williams is starting in place of Robert Williams. So now that we know that Grant Williams is starting, I mean, Tice is still going to have to play some minutes off the bench, but are we looking at like 36 minutes from Grant Williams now?
I think Grant Williams plays a lot.
Yeah, that's what I'm starting to think too. And then Tice off the bench, I don't know, probably 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to go 20 to 22 if he started. I'll probably go like 16 now.
All right. So that means we're looking at huge minutes from Grant Williams. And as is already, I think we probably should be projecting north of 40 minutes for Tatum and Brown. That's not going to change. Al Horford probably plays 40 minutes now as well, right?
If he's not in foul. Like, I'm still not projecting 40.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I think the upside is there for him to play north of 40. It's a game that, I mean, they're down 2-1 in the series. You consider the stakes. There's no Robert Williams. It's a team that's already thin in the front court. Yeah, Al Horford. I mean, particularly Tatum and Brown already. I think we're looking at like 44 minutes from each of those guys. And then Horford probably as much as he could handle without getting into foul trouble. But yeah, we got that starting lineup. We got all the pertinent news in. Super chat from my fellow came in late. Sorry if you guys already mentioned this, but Tatum or Brown, last man in on DK. I mean, does price not matter? Because then it's Tatum, but Brown's a guy I have more exposure to.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, if we're just talking raw points, Tatum, but I'm not giving up. I don't want to give up too much just to get Tatum over Brown. I think Brown's actually a better value than Tatum.
Yeah, that's what I think as well. But Tatum should be projected for more fantasy points still. So we'll get on talking about the second game of the slate. But first, today's show is sponsored by PrizePicks. If you guys are signing up at PrizePicks for the first time, use the promo code Awesemo to get up to a $100 bonus on your first deposit. And you will also get 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. All right, so I thought that we had all day to talk about this 2-game slate. And then, of course, not ending up being the case because of the Robert Williams news that we had to go hit on there. But here's the biggest news on the slate, even more so than Robert Williams being out, and that is for the Memphis Grizzlies. Ja Morant, he is a knee injury, not expected to play. Was the injury caused by Jordan Poole? Was it not? We don't know. We're also not going to have the time to talk about it anymore. But with Morant out, who are the highest priority plays for Memphis?
Tyus Jones, first, second, third, fourth. He was obviously a talking point this morning, and there's always a tendency for people to just be like, oh, well, he's 75, 80% owned. I'm not going to play him. He's too popular, whatever. It's so difficult for somebody like that to actually hurt you when you consider what else he's going to allow you to get into your lineups, in addition to the fact that he projects for nearly 10 times his salary. He started 23 games without Morant this season with Bane, Brooks, Jackson. 0.96 DraftKings points per minute, 30 minutes per game. He's a really good facilitator. He's obviously not the same usage guy that Ja Morant is, but he doesn't need to be. I fully expect to just have Tyus Jones in every lineup. Yeah,
I'm on the same page as you. It's just totally unavoidable. Frankly, if this was a 10-game slate, I'd probably have close to all of my lineups having Tyus Jones in. $3,700 on FanDuel, $3,400 on DraftKings. I'm not going to say he can't fail because I thought Derek White couldn't fail in a similar situation a few days ago, but it's as close to a can't fail situation as you're going to get. So Tyus Jones, I'm going to be locking and loading him. And that goes for a lot of the other players on Memphis as well. Desmond Bane looks really good. Dillon Brooks looks really good, particularly because these guys are priced down since they haven't played well in this series. Brooks at 5K, that would be somebody I would be getting to a lot of, even if Morant was in there. And I understand he hasn't played great in the postseason, but Dillon Brooks generally should be priced higher than that. He's had some foul issues in the postseason, but still, it's not the end of the world. Over on DraftKings, they're a little more expensive, $5,500 for Brooks, $6,200 for Bane. I still want to play a lot of them. When you look at the other options who are kind of in the mid-range on Memphis, who do you think is the best guy to get to?
Yeah, so I'm with you on what you said. I think Brooks at 5,500. Yes, he's not a good shooter, but he approaches a 30% usage rate without John Morant. In the games he's played without him this season, and he's not going to be afraid to shoot either. Even if I'm being kind of cautious on Memphis's minutes projections here for two reasons. One, Taylor Jenkins typically runs pretty deep rotations, and that's been the case even in the postseason. We haven't really seen him tighten up all that much. And then two, there is blowout risk here. So, I'm not just saying I don't think anybody plays more than 30, but I'm being a little bit cautious. If this were a different coach, different matchup, all of that, I'd be like, I think Brooks plays 40. I think, all these guys play a ton. I'm being a little bit more cautious, but still, it makes Brooks look good at 5,500. Desmond Bane looks good at 6,200. The one concern I have is that he's been really bad in this series, and we know he's playing through an injury. So I don't know how much of that is a result of the injury. He only has like a 14.5% usage rate. He's averaged about a half a fantasy point per minute. So I am a little bit concerned, but there's only so much I can do with that. If he's playing, I kind of have to assume that he's at least somewhat good to go. I'm not getting like hourly updates on how Desmond Bane actually feels. So there's not a whole lot I can do with that. And at 6,200, I'm certainly still going to roll the dice there. Jaren Jackson sees a bump in usage rate without Morant. If he can stay out of foul trouble, he's likely to play a lot and be good at 6,300. So all three of those guys look good to me. Jones clearly the number one priority. And then behind them, Clark at 5,400 didn't play a ton last game, but I expect around 25 minutes or so on average. Same for DeAnthony Melton, who we know can pick up some of the ball handling responsibilities behind Tyus Jones. He can pick up some of the vacated usage as well. So both of those guys look like solid plays to me as well.
I really like getting to Jaren Jackson Jr. on this slate. I've played a lot of Jaren Jackson Jr. over the last handful of games now. And I think he's the highest upside of anybody on this team for tonight, particularly with the usage boost he gets without Ja Morant. In terms of core players that we consider rostering, he also has the lowest floor because he could go out and pick up 2 fouls 90 seconds into the game. And then I'm just like, oh, well, fuck me. I played a bunch of Jaren Jackson Jr. and here he is in foul trouble for the millionth time. But also, and I mentioned this a few times on shows during the series, this is a much easier matchup for Jaren Jackson to avoid foul trouble in than last series because he's primarily getting matched up against guys like Kevon Looney off the bench or against Draymond Green. It is much easier to avoid fouls guarding those guys than it was guarding Karl-Anthony Towns. Now, is Jaren Jackson Jr. still going to find a way to pick up stupid fouls? You bet your ass he could, but he's managed to play 29 minutes last game, 29 minutes the game before, and 31 minutes before that. Like he was fouling out in like 18 minutes in games against the Timberwolves, and that's probably harder to do considering the guys that he's matched up against. So I'm going to be overweight to Jaren Jackson Jr., particularly on FanDuel, where he has pretty modest ownership relative to a 2-game slate. How comfortable are you projecting him to play bigger minutes, though?
I'm not. I have him at 30. That scares the hell out of me. I really can't realistically go higher than that on him, I don't think. But I'm with you. Like I think the ceiling is massive.
Is there any other player you've ever projected for foul trouble like this?
No, but it's like I'm not even projecting him for foul trouble. I'm projecting him to his average. Like he fouls so much that his average just drops. Like I'm projecting him higher than his average. In the postseason, he's at 26 minutes per game. In this series, I think he's around like 28. So, it's not like I'm looking. I'm always really cautious and hesitant to like look at a matchup and say like, oh yeah, this guy's definitely getting in foul trouble. Let me chop like 4 minutes off of his normal playing time. But with Jaren Jackson, the dude's in foul trouble so often that his average playing time is like 6 minutes lower than what his coach would like him to play.
I saw, and I don't even think it was unjustified, but I saw some sites projecting for like 24 minutes last series. And it's like, this is strictly due to foul trouble. And I can't even argue with it. But yeah, he's somebody who I think the upside for him is really significant in this spot. Rounding out the rest of the rotation, how are you viewing DeAnthony Melton? Because he's another guy whose minutes are really hard to project. And obviously this is a better situation for him without Morant out. But how many times have we seen Morant out in the past where it didn't really materially change Melton's role, either in terms of usage or in terms of how much playing time he got? Considering how deep the rotations Taylor Jenkins likes to play, I'm not sure I want to give D'Anthony Melton more than like 26 or 27 minutes. Are you in the same boat as me with that?
Yeah, I have Melton at 25. He's averaged about 24 minutes per game in the games without Morant this year. He has been playing more, in this series, so I was willing to give him an extra minute or so. But the thing is, with this second unit, like whenever Tyus Jones isn't on the floor, they could have Kyle Anderson run point. Like that's something they've done before. Again, Melton's been getting plenty of minutes recently, so I'm certainly not taking minutes away from Melton because John Morant's out. That would be a pretty weird assumption to make. It's just more to speak to the point that just because we saw it in a couple of games recently doesn't mean it's happening again. He's pretty volatile. Taylor Jenkins has had plenty of opportunities during the regular season to play him and typically just refuses. So it does make me nervous, but I do still have him at 25 minutes, makes him look decent. The second point to that, though, is if there was one guy on Memphis that is not going to get much ownership, that I think could actually end up being a good play, and actually he's at 15%. But Kyle Anderson at 3,300, I only have him at like 18 minutes. But if he gets more, like it's not like he needs a ton more to be a really good option at 3,300.
Yeah, I could see that as well. And I mean, the rotation is so random for the Grizzlies. We've seen what Taylor Jenkins do at times. And I mean, they might even play like 11 dudes today. They might just totally empty the bed. Like Steven Adams could be back in the rotation for no reason at all. Is there anybody else that you're really looking to take a potential flyer on?
No, I mean, the Steven Adams thing has come up in chat both this morning and tonight. Like he played 6 minutes in garbage time. There's been nothing to suggest he's in the rotation or will be in the rotation. Yes, John Morant being out changes the personnel on the floor, but this is also just not a team where I expect them to say, oh yeah, we need Steven Adams out there against a bunch of small dudes. So, yeah, if Steven Adams were to be announced starting, then by all means get to as much Steven Adams as you can. But outside of people just randomly speculating for no reason, there's nothing to suggest that Steven Adams is playing anything more than garbage time.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. I mean, for my own personal insight, which obviously doesn't matter, I would think it makes sense to give the Tillman minutes to Adams because I think Adams is better than Tillman, but that's probably not going to be the case because we've seen Tillman start games recently, and even last game he started ahead of Steven Adams. So that's probably going to remain constant there. We have a super chat from Gabriel Meffrin who's asking Draymond or Portis, last man in, power forward, FanDuel GP. Draymond easy.
Draymond.
Yeah, Draymond in that spot. We've got some more super chats coming in here. First from Jeff Williams. Biggest priority on DK, Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bane, or Dylan Brooks for a high dollar single entry?
Probably Brooks.
Yeah, of those guys, I have the most exposure to Brooks right now. I think the upside for Triple J is really high, but it's hard for me to go out and play like 70% of them because of the downside there. So yeah, I'm with you there. Another super chat here from my filler arc. One more, guys. He's asking us Kuminga and Pat Connaughton or Otto Porter Jr. and Xavier Tillman. I liked your 2v2 from earlier a lot better, but Kuminga and Pat Connaughton or Otto Porter Jr. and Xavier Tillman. I do not like either of those combinations.
Yeah, I mean, I would lean the Kuminga one. I think they're close in terms of like ugliness. Like Connaughton and Porter are very similar for me, and then Kuminga and Tillman are similar. The reason I say I lean the Kuminga side is that assuming he stays in the starting lineup, we only saw him play 18 minutes, including garbage time last game. If he's playing well, like there's more minutes upside, I think, for Kuminga and more production upside for Kuminga than there is for Tillman. Like, assuming that they're both in the starting lineup, Tillman is still getting his 16 whatever minutes, getting the hell off the floor, and you're going to get Brandon Clark, you're going to get Jaren Jackson. If Kuminga's playing well, he can very easily just stay out there for more minutes, and he's a better offensive player than Tillman. So they're both. It's pretty ugly 2v2, but I think there's just a higher ceiling on the Kuminga side.
Yeah, and I mean, we could just use that as a talking point to transition right into the Warriors by starting this. Do you think he starts again? Because I'm under the impression Porter is going to start today.
I have him in for now. Porter started the second half last game. Yeah. I don't really know. I went like 18 minutes on Kuminga, 22 or 24 on Portis. If Porter starts, If Porter starts, I'll give Porter a couple more and take a couple from Kuminga.
Yeah, so for me, the reason I ultimately went with Porter is because what you just mentioned right there, the Warriors started Porter over Kuminga in the second half. That and Kuminga had a good fantasy game. For real life, though, a lot of those points came in garbage time. So a lot of people might look, oh, look, he scored 18 points in 17 minutes. The Warriors won that game by 30 points and were outscored with Kuminga on the court. Whereas Otto Porter Jr., on the other hand, played 24 minutes, the Warriors were plus 30 in his minutes. Is plus minus the end all be all? No, but I know it's something that Steve Kerr is aware of, and we've seen him mention it when talking to players on the bench before. My gut feeling here, and once again, I could be wrong, is I think Otto Porter ends up starting over Kuminga. So I do really like Porter as a value option. Where would Porter be for you, even if he comes off the bench? Would that be somebody you think that you would like getting to?
Yeah, even if he comes off the bench, I'm still expecting him in that like 22 to 24 minute range. Makes him look pretty good at 4,100. If he starts, it certainly makes him look better. And I don't really even disagree with you. Like I could end up just kind of changing my projections between now and lock, because I didn't have a strong take on that one way or the other. But yeah, I mean the way I have it right now, I think that Porter looks pretty good. Kuminga looks more like a flyer, like a very scary flyer, even if he starts. Probably getting to more Porter one way or the other.
Yeah, and for people who are wondering why we're talking about Kuminga or Porter potentially starting and why they started last game, it's because Gary Payton II broke an elbow for him because he got pushed midair by Dylan Brooks, ends up breaking his arm on the play, and is now out for an extended period of time. So the other thing that I think is possible, although it's a much lower likelihood, is Jordan Poole could potentially start, because we've seen them do that in the past where they just start Jordan Poole in place of Gary Payton. So where do you stand on Jordan Poole? Because even if he doesn't start, his minutes are more secure with Gary Payton out of the mix.
Yeah, I think he's in the closing lineup whether he starts or not. So, I think you're getting north of 30 minutes from Poole. Usage rate, he actually leads the team in this series. I do expect, as you get more games, that probably comes down at least a little bit. But I do like him in tournaments. The price tags come down a little bit with him coming off the bench and with Curry being back. So more of a tournament play than somebody that I'm like super comfortable with. But we know that he can really take over games as a scorer, and he still has about a 22% assist percentage as well.
We have a super chat here from my Philararch. He's just following up on his question before. He said he's playing one lineup and he's building it as if Golden State is winning by 50. So if that's how you're building your lineup, where you're just going to be lower on Grizzlies guys and you're just assuming that game's a blowout, then Kuminga makes more sense under that circumstance.
Yep.
As for the other guys on Golden State, Steph Curry is a pay-up option. So we haven't really talked that much about Curry. I have mentioned that Giannis is my favorite pay-up option and Jason Tatum is my least favorite, which using some logic there, I think people might be able to figure out that Steph Curry is in the middle of those two. I view Steph Curry as being somebody who certainly has the upside to have a massive game if his 3 points are falling. Here's one thing that does give me a little bit of concern, though, with Morant out and the Warriors being double-digit favorites. I do worry a little bit that there's potential that they just don't need to push guys to play that many minutes. Not saying that I'm projecting a blowout, but I don't know that we're going to see like 40 plus minutes of Steph Curry, where I do feel more comfortable saying that like I do think we're going to get 40 plus minutes out of somebody like Giannis or Jaylen Brown or anything like that. But where does Steph Curry rank for you just in the ranks of the pay up options today?
Yeah, same for me. I slightly prefer him to Tatum. Maybe not quite. I think it's closer now that Robert Williams is out. But yeah, I think he's very similar to Tatum. But Giannis is the clear one for me.
All right, so we're on the same page there. And then as for the secondary options on Golden State, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Andrew Wiggins, the one I'm prioritizing the most right now is Draymond Green, particularly over on FanDuel. I find him to be somebody who's really unavoidable. So Draymond, when it comes to his FanDuel price, is only 6,300. And the power forward options are kind of thin when it comes to FanDuel, especially with Robert Williams out of the mix. I haven't rebuilt lineups, but I imagine I'm going to have really concentrated power forward ownership over on FanDuel now with his absence. So that's just going to make Giannis and Draymond guys are going to be almost impossible to avoid. But in terms of guys like Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Andrew Wiggins, who are you prioritizing the most?
Yeah, I'm with you on Draymond. I think Wiggins actually still looks decent as well, a little bit less expensive. I think comparable in salary to Draymond. But I do think that the ownership projection on Draymond's really interesting. I know this morning it was pretty high. We just updated the boom bust tool. We have Draymond at 35% ownership, only about a 28% chance of being optimal. So it does make me, we have 28% ownership going to Jaren Jackson, for example, makes me like getting to Jaren Jackson as a pivot. So I think that Draymond's a good play, but I do think he looks like one of the more overowned guys right now.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that there's a case for that as well. Actually, let me see if we have updated ownership on the slate with Robert Williams being out. So where is Draymond now, particularly on FanDuel? Draymond on FanDuel is So Robert Williams is out of it now. Draymond is projected for, he's up to 50% ownership on FanDuel now. I do think he's kind of unavoidable, but I don't know that I'm going to be well over the 50% number because that is a lot of ownership. Like he could be my second most rostered power forward on FanDuel behind Giannis, and I still don't know that I'd end up with much north of 50%. So I think that is a viable point, just looking at some of the updated ownerships with the Robert Williams news. By the way, Grant Williams currently projected for 14% ownership on FanDuel. On DraftKings, he's projected for 17%. That number is going to be higher for sure. Would you agree with that? 17% for Grant Williams at 4,300?
Yeah, sounds right to me.
If he's going to be 17% owned at 4,300, and I'm probably going to be projecting him for mid to high 30s minutes without Robert Williams, that's going to be a priority value option for me at the forward spot. But looking at the rest of the Warriors, is there anybody else we haven't talked about that you're going to be prioritizing today?
No. Kevon Looney at 3,200, certainly not prioritizing, but just, mentioning him as another cheap guy where if you are somebody that thinks Steven Adams is going to start or something, so you're throwing in Steven Adams placeholders, just swap it to Looney if he doesn't start.
And then anything else on Golden State that you think is warranting of a flyer? Anybody you'd roster for potential garbage run or blowout time, or just anybody in general that you think could be a good GPP flyer?
No, I think that covers it.
All right, that is going to do it for us. Time for us to build some baseball lineups real quick. Guys, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, but do not go anywhere. Live Before Lock is coming up next. Good luck tonight.
Top Shot. The voice of Doris Burke, now on NBA Top Shot. I think she's excellent, but that ain't getting people over there.
Just Drake.
What?
Just Drake.
You. What's going on? Welcome to the Awesemo.com NBA Live Before Lock show presented by Prize. Let me get comfortable here. Presented by PrizePicks.com. I'm Dave Loughran, joined by Josh Engleman at Josh Engleman on the Twitters. Follow me at Lafayette_D. Well, you're stuck with us for the next hour and a half, so buckle in. We're going to have some fun. And Josh, I will tell you this much. The 30-minute post-lock show is going to be a blast. I read a story in the New York Post today that I will be presenting to you and getting your opinion on. It is outrageous. It is a true horror story that you've never heard before in your life. And, well, PrizePicks may drop us after that, but it'll be worth it. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm still reeling over the fact that Elon Musk was drinking chocolate milk today, but, you know.
Yo, how about that timing, though? I mean,
so good. I just assume it's not like milk.
How many million followers, and he just tweets, man, chocolate milk's delicious. I forgot how good it was, or something like that, which is, we have back channels. I hit him up. I was like, listen, I know you like that choco milk. And I was like, will you say you like the chocolate bee milk? And he's like, I was like, just to get it, Josh. And he's, I'm not doing that.
It's the good stuff, man. If it's not bee milk, then it's not milk.
Bee milk. We got to start using that. You got that.
I mean, you saying that you only drink 1%, that's legitimately embarrassing.
Why, dude? 1%.
That's not milk. That's
perfect.
Not milk.
It's perfect. It's not
it's
skim.
Whole, it's whole or nothing.
Whole milk's gross.
It's the only option.
I just might as well suck it right off the cow's teeth.
Yeah, I would rather do whole. I would do half and half before I did 1%.
Dude,
ugh.
1%'s good. 1%.
1%'s an embarrassment.
Get you some chocolate 1% bee milk. How about that? We'll go to town. No. Anyway, happy to have you guys with us. I hate to have to do this all of the time. And we're going to have a good show because the Robert Williams news is actually pretty significant. You don't want to see anybody get ruled out due to injury, but this is knee soreness. You know, it's not catastrophic. He'll be okay. So I feel okay saying that it makes these shows better, Josh, when you get some news like this and we get to talk about it heading into Live Before Lock.
I don't know about better, but
why not?
Gives us a little something extra, I guess, to talk about. I don't know. I mean, it's the playoffs, so it's not like we're going to get 25 minutes out of Luke Cornett today and we got to figure out how to work him in. Like, they're just going to play less people and play the other guys more minutes. I don't think it's all that interesting in the grand scheme of things. It's not like Robert Williams is like taking stats away from anybody. It just sort of, it muddies the waters, which I mean, I guess is fun. I would prefer Robert Williams to just be in, and I would like to roll back 30 minutes.
All right. Well, not the answer I was looking for, but hey, here we are.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't like when.
Dude, at least you listen.
Like
at least you have answers for my questions.
Fair.
You know,
fair.
Adam today, just an outright drone. You know?
Are you surprised? Are you surprised?
Not at all. Not at all. And then the best is when he tries to act like he knew what you were asking and just is so far out to lunch, out in left field, where
not even in the ballpark.
He just starts talking about something that you hadn't talked about.
Yeah.
And granted, I threw him a little curveball there, but I know how to host. I toss his name in. When you say somebody's name, it makes them more alert, right? Even if they're not paying attention. Didn't work. I mean, just dead. A corpse.
No part of it's surprising. That is the typical Adam experience. It's the same reason that we've got 1,800 people in here and 283 likes, because the show before us was asleep at the wheel.
It's preposterous. 284 likes on almost 1,900 people. Granted, we're building concurrence quick right now, but
yeah. Don't worry, everybody's showing up now.
Yeah, 500 should be. I mean, we appreciate you guys hanging out with us every day. Appreciate us. Atone for your sins If you're on your phone, it's cool. Hit out a chat, hit that thumbs up, takes a second, and then pop right back in. It just boosts our ego. No, in all seriousness, yeah, but it helps us. Otherwise, we wouldn't ask. It certainly helps the channel. So appreciate that. We're almost at 400 already. So, I mean, it's not that hard. It's not that hard.
It's really easy.
What's that?
It's easy.
It's easy. It's the easiest part of the job, one might say. Yeah,
for sure.
And it goes neglected. Goes neglected. And subscribe to the channel. Hit that join down below too if you want to get the free super chats each month, the custom emojis. Thanks, Candace. Appreciate you. And the sweet badges. You see them in chat. I don't see many people iced up. That 1 year badge is elusive, but it's nice, and I got one. And we'll always prioritize your questions and comments along with our premium Discord members. So we're going to hit 500 before we even get started on these games. It's just, oh yeah, Josh and I have a lunch date coming up next Wednesday. That's going to be fun.
It is going to be fun. We'll have to tweet it out or something.
It just so happened that Josh's parents live probably an hour from me, but in order to
45 minutes to an hour,
to get to the Philadelphia airport, he's coming right through my neck of the woods.
Yeah,
get together, have a beer and some food.
Absolutely.
Catch up on old times. We've never met in person, not once.
Never. It's going to be
Who would
weird.
have thought with this chemistry too that we've never met in person?
I know, it's a shit. It's going to be great. It's going to be great.
All right. Old Lansdale, Pennsylvania. I mean, that's a heck of a meetup spot, huh? All right. So let's talk a little bit of basketball here.
We're going to find out.
It's fine. I lived there. I told you I lived there for a little while. It's a good midway point.
I know a decent mini golf place in Quakertown. We can go that direction if you want.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Sort of by the Salvation Army.
You ever been to the Q Mart? I mean, you want to talk about some people.
I have not. But we got one of those back up our way. Now that I'm Googling it, and it is, I can only imagine, quite comparable.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
the dredges of society. Like they have an aquarium next to a place that makes French fries with a power drill. Like right next to each other. Because the Q Mart's like a big flea mart type thing. It's out of control. All right.
I do want like some flea market French fries though. That sounds good.
Yeah. The power drill just it's something else. All right. Let's talk a little basketball here. And hang out with us afterwards. We're going past lock, 30 minutes past lock. It's going to be a blast, as it always is every single Monday. Let's get straight to Robert Williams here. Now, this isn't a new situation. We've seen this be the case before where Robert Williams is out. Actually, first 2 games of the postseason against Brooklyn. But Daniel Tice was starting those games. Now, we got Grant Williams starting these. Tice has only played like 6 minutes in this series. Before we even get to Williams, because he's already playing a lot of minutes. What has he played? Like 34 and 35 over the last 2 games or something? He's playing a lot.
Sounds about right.
I think so. 34 and 35, 29 in game 1. How many minutes do you think Daniel Tice plays today?
Not a lot, but some, I guess, is probably the easiest way to describe it. Foul trouble is obviously going to play a big role here. I gave Tice 18 minutes.
Okay.
To me, that feels about right. It would surprise me, barring foul trouble, if Daniel Tice played at all in the fourth quarter. So I assume we get a large chunk of Al Horford at the 5, maybe a little Tice and Horford alongside of each other. But, if Tice plays 6 minutes in the first quarter, 6 minutes in the second quarter, 6 minutes in the third quarter, there's your 18. I think it's more likely that he doesn't ever show up again when it gets to crunch time. And at that point in time, you don't need him any longer. So 18 felt about right. Something in the 16 to 20 range would, I wouldn't argue with anybody for that.
I think 18 is a good number because you have to consider a couple of things. This is the way I was looking at it. And you can tell me where you distributed some of the additional minutes to. Robert Williams wasn't playing 35 minutes a night, right? No. So you're taking like 24 minutes out of the rotation. The reason I mentioned Grant Williams is already because he was already playing a lot. So even if you pencil him in for 35, even 38, there's still some that can go to Tice, right? Say like an extra 16 to 18 minutes. And then you can just give a couple extra anywhere else. So it's not as big a deal it would be if like Horford, who's playing 39 minutes, was out.
Yeah, I went 36 Horford, 34 Grant Williams, 18 Tice. Could I bump up Horford to 38 and Grant to 36? Yeah. I'm a little nervous that these guys, like, you're just one less body to soak up any additional fouls. So I wanted to soften that blow a little bit, because Horford having to play more at the 5 has an impact on his foul rate. Grant Williams having to play more is going to have a slight impact on his foul rate. So I didn't want to go too crazy there. I did give a slight bump to Derek White's minutes, Peyton Pritchard soaking it up, but I'm only giving those 8 guys minutes. I've got Tatum up to 42. I've got Jaylen Brown at 40 now. I feel pretty comfortable with the Boston rotation.
Yeah, I don't think it's all that crazy either. I mean, the big thing for me is when you look at Al Horford, I mentioned it to you before the show. I already liked the over 24.5 points, rebounds, and assists because let me give you some nutty stats. Okay. I talked about this in the player prop video. I do a best bets video on OddsShopper every day. Check that out. I know a lot of you guys hang and we ride together each day, but Monday through Friday, I'm on that. Eitan does it on Saturday and Sunday, but I got you throughout the entire work week. So in the first series, now sometimes I look at touches per game because it tells me like how involved are you. So you can look at a lot of stuff over at NBA.com stats, right? 50 touches per game in that first series. And he was still playing a lot of minutes. You know how many touches per game he's averaging in this series? I'll tell you, 81. That's second most on the team by 15 and only 6 behind Tatum. Like Udoka is clearly trying to, I don't know what it is, but he has been far more involved. 17 rebound chances per game, 8 potential assists per game, 16% usage rate. None of the rebound rate's actually really high, but none of those are insanely high. But you're looking at someone in right now in Horford that if he continues playing 36 plus minutes, like you said, foul trouble could be an issue. We saw that a couple times, but he's already been absurdly involved in his offense from start to finish. And now you have no Robert Williams.
It's weird. But what did you say the points, rebounds, assist line was for him?
24.5, but it's juiced to the over now a lot because earlier it wasn't, but now it is.
I got him at 25.2. So I'm right on that number.
That's fair. He's gone over 24.5 in all 3 games, albeit 2 of them were barely over. Last game, he went berserk.
I'm nervous about Horford today.
22, 16, and 5 last game.
That's a big one. That's a big one.
And I know it's one. I'm not trying to act like one game is everything, but he's been good, man. He's gone 38, 41, and 57 DraftKings points. And Williams has played in all 3 of these games. He's played 36, 37, and 39 minutes in these games. Like Horford's just, all I'm saying right now, you can make any decision you want, but his involvement is more than I ever would have anticipated in the second round of a playoff series, especially given how the lack of involvement, at least last series compared to this one.
He's definitely doing more than I was expecting him to still have left in the tank, which is fun.
He's actually still good at basketball. That's the truth.
Decent job turning Kemba Walker into Al Horford here.
Yeah. God, remember that experiment next to Joel Embiid? I mean, what a fucking disaster that was.
I mean, I get it. I get it.
Sure. But it was like Josh Richardson was remember that? Josh Richardson. I
was very pro everything they did there.
I was at first, and I think it was probably because I just wanted to believe that it was okay, and the spacing was so bad.
Which was weird. Like, you expected Horford to be able to space the floor. Josh Richardson had one big year for Miami, and you always just wanted him to get back to it. I liked it on paper. Didn't shake out the way that you wanted it to. Maybe that's Ben Simmons' fault.
I mean, everything is.
Sort of.
Yeah. We're over 500 likes. Thanks, guys. That was very easy. Very easy.
I mean, I didn't even think it would be a struggle.
Much appreciated. Yeah, I guess though with Horford, like I said, he's reasonably priced. And this is what's wild to me is this is where I think you and I might have some agreements. And it's fun doing live before lock because we don't have to go game by game. We can actually kind of compare against other games, especially on a 2-gamer.
Yeah.
I don't see why he's still getting less ownership than Draymond Green. It doesn't make sense to me. I still don't get it.
I have slightly more Draymond than I do Al Horford, but I'm under on both. So,
okay.
The $200 helps. That's really the extent of it all. Like, I see these guys as pretty similar. Like I've got Horford projected for 34 on DK at 6,600. He's got power forward center. I've got Draymond projected for 34. He's 6,400 power forward center. To me, they're basically the exact same guy today. And I think that they should be owned as such.
That's fair.
We
just updated ownership.
We're not seeing. We did. Okay.
Horford's 1% higher than Green. But the truth is, after I really dug into those advanced stats, sometimes it can change my mind. And it really did with Horford. Like it did.
Wait, did you say we just got an ownership update?
Sorry, I hadn't updated since we started. So we just got, like, I updated right before the show. We must have updated right after the show started. So yeah, my fault.
All right. I just refreshed you because I didn't have whatever we just had.
Yeah.
Let's see if that did anything for me. I have slightly more Horford now than Draymond, but not by a lot. And I'm still half the field on both.
Okay. Let me hit on a couple super chats real quick. Tion Higgs, Q-Mart and in Q-Town, man. Wow, I grew up in East Greenville, PA, graduated from Upper Perkiomen High School. Small world. Question, did you have the gyros across from the mini electric car? Yo, I know that car track. I've only been there once, but you don't forget. I've only been there one time because I just needed to experience it, and I did. Look, I'm not knocking some of the food. It's good. It's just you go in there to that place and, just brace yourself. Is all I'm saying.
That's my kind of food. It's not like you can't have it every day, obviously, but sometimes you just need some like wild garbage.
Oh, you're like me. You'll eat some shit food once in a while and not feel bad about it. Yeah.
No, not at all. I mean, I embrace it.
Me too.
I want it fried in something where that fryer oil has been there since like my dad would have went as a kid.
Like a fire, like the place burning down is tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I hear you. And you can taste it, but it's good. And then
something
you always
about
have
it makes it better.
Then you'll always have people, tell you in chat or something like, don't eat that stuff. It's bad for you. It's poison. It's like, I know, I know that I'm not eating a healthy, I get it. I appreciate your concern, but I'm
not trying to eat it forever.
Right.
This is like a special occasion here.
If
I don't need to eat a corn dog wrapped in cotton candy for 365 days.
What if you could, though, with zero health concerns?
I mean, like just for that, or like
all
like bad
not
foods?
Great food.
I mean, I would eat pizza every day.
Exactly. Every day.
Pizza, quesadillas. I mean, if you eat a salad at that point in time, you are the least popular person on the planet.
The T-Bell quesadillas. Oh, shit.
I don't know if you saw it earlier today. Nikola Jokic was announced as a draft pick for the Nuggets during a Taco Bell quesarito commercial. All you see is just like Jokic's name on the bottom line and they're just rolling up a burrito inside a quesadilla.
That's good stuff. Brandon Wagner, if I wanted to punt on the center spot on DraftKings, would you go Tice or would you go Looney? That's a good question. Like if you had to go with one of those, because neither of them are particularly exciting.
I mean, it's Tice by like a mile.
You think so?
Yeah.
I mean, Looney's. Yeah. All right. Tell me why it's by a mile.
Maybe it's not by a mile. Where do I have Looney here? No, you know what? I don't necessarily agree with the words that just came out of my mouth.
Okay. I was gonna say, it sounds odd.
I didn't think that I had Looney projected for 18 minutes. So let me correct myself here.
Yeah. He only played 9 minutes in game 2, but he played 19 and 17. Hold on. Let me just make sure he didn't get the blowout run last game. Did Looney get some of it, but not?
I'm going to amend my answer and say that it's Looney now.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's right.
I have Looney projected 3 points ahead of Daniel Tice.
Okay. John Bryant, you guys know how to win money. Draymond or Horford, last man in. Actually, I didn't even see that question. Thanks for the super chat. For me, it's Horford.
I don't really have a preference. I have slightly more Horford, but I have them separated by 0.2 of a fantasy point. Okay. There's probably a little bit more upside in Draymond from a minutes perspective. Like I'm projecting Horford with quite a bit more minutes than Draymond. But if this Memphis game happens to be close, like it wouldn't surprise me if Draymond got to 34 or 36 if it had to. Whereas I think it's a little bit less likely that I'm going to just immediately tack on additional minutes to Horford.
Yeah, and just so anyone's wondering, he's not saying there's additional upside that Draymond plays more minutes than Horford, but he plays more minutes than we're projecting him for. Yeah. And Gabriel Meefrin, Josh, give it to me straight. Is Brooks getting cooked by Golden State defense tonight? Appreciate you guys. Best duo on the site. Thanks, man.
I mean, I don't care about Golden State's defense at all. All I care about is his minutes projection. For Brooks, life has changed quite a bit for me in terms of Dillon Brooks. I am very, very, very light on him. I am not happy about that. I am getting to way more Desmond Bane at this point. Those guys are basically equally owned. I'm just picking Bane over Brooks now. Does he look good on paper? Absolutely. There's a difference between what I think just in the aggregate and what ends up in my lineups. I just prefer to get to Bane here, but if we're talking 5,500 on DK, shooting guard, small forward, he certainly has a high upside there. He's going to take every shot that he could possibly want, and barring any real foul trouble, like, he's just going to be out there for the entire game. So don't go to Brooks is my, like, this is what I'm playing answer. But if you are firm on Brooks, I get it.
KS. Thanks for the super chat. Poor Laffy. One co-host probably wouldn't notice if you walked away. First of all, Adam would be lost without me if I wasn't doing shows with Adam every day. Let's be completely honest here. Let's be completely honest. I make his.
We are incredibly valuable to him being on shows.
Yeah. Does anyone know how easy I make his life during shows? The other ridicules are taste buds. Josh and I, we're on the same page. I don't know what this guy's talking about. He's talking about chocolate milk. Yeah, but I mean, we're always going to go back. We have fun around here, but for the most part, Josh and I could sit down at a McDonald's and figure things out. You know what I mean? So,
we're going to do some aggressive damage. Although McDonald's is more of a breakfast spot for me.
Yeah. Give me an egg McMuffin with a hash brown and I'm good to go. We should go to fast food when we meet up.
That's fine. Quesarito season, baby.
Oh yeah, man. I know there's a T-Bell in Lansdale.
Just, I want to put this out there right now. I can't go do that and then get on a plane.
No, you can't. No, we'll do that one day when you're going
back.
We'll
be emergency landing somewhere in Virginia.
It's the ketchup and egg situation all over again. Go get yourself some chocolate milk, champ. I might do that, but either way, appreciate that. And we had a $20 super chat. I'm trying to get through all these. Appreciate you guys. Oh, what's up, Connor? My man. Horford, Poole, or Clark Brown? Thanks, fellas. Horford, Poole, or Clark? That's a good question. Dude, I'm leaning Horford, Poole there. What do your projections say?
Let's see. Horford, Poole, or Clark Brown?
Yeah. Jaylen Brown, Brandon Clark.
All right. I've got that at 73 for Horford, Poole. I've got 69.4 for Brown, Clark. I don't have any Clark at this moment, so I'm going to go to that first group.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you. Oh, didn't Malakor send in a free super chat? Yeah. If hand building, do you start with value or at the top? I start with the best plays if I'm hand building. Like the guy, I'm starting, like I'm getting Tyus Jones in there. I'm getting Giannis in there if I'm hand building. What about you?
It's not something that I even think about. I've never
not everyone optimizes
because when you look at your lineup after it's done being built, you don't know what you put in there first. So I don't know what I'm putting in there. Most likely scenario, honestly, is that I'm just working my way down the list of players. So it's probably whoever's playing point guard.
Right. Yeah. I would say if you're hand building though, it can make it easier if it's like, okay, Tyus Jones, I want to play this guy. I want to play Giannis. If you're not optimizing lineups. Your best bet, honestly, is to start with whoever you guys think are the best point per dollar plays. Fill that out completely. And if you end up having $7,000 left over, then start incrementally upgrading those. It's 100% right. But like, that's what I'm saying. Tyus Jones clearly is, you know?
Yeah.
But you also know when you're doing that, you're getting to Giannis as well, right?
Yep.
Like, you know, on a slate like this, you're getting to. We also have the lineup builder over at Awesemo, so check that out. And we have 7 days for $7. This is the easiest read for me to ever do because I don't have to sell anything. It's just you get everything for $7 for the entire week by going to awesemo.com/promos. Top stack tool, boom bust tool, lineup builder, top pitchers tool, top golfers tool, top drivers for NASCAR. I could go down the list. All the simulation tools, everything for baseball, basketball, USFL, not FS1, F1, golf, MMA, UFC, everything. Tennis, soccer. If they have contests, we got content for it across the board. All these tools built by Awesemo himself. And if you use that promo code Luca, you're in, baby. $1 a day for 7 days. It's $7 for 7 days. Check it out. If you've ever wanted to see what we got going on, here's the easiest way to do it. And it's an awesome discount. That's 77% off the normal rate, which is just coincidentally Luca's number. So is 7%. Did you know that wasn't even intentional? They didn't even know that until afterwards. How insane is that?
That makes sense.
All right. Let's talk about the rest of, I want to get into just a little bit of the rest of Boston here. We're hitting on some good stuff. And I think some of these 2v2s or 1v1s are actually really important for people on a 2-game slate. But Tatum's rebounding has been bad, 4% rebound rate in the series. Rebound chances are down considerably. He's playing further away from the basket. Adam and I talked about it this morning, but he's still, assuming Ja Morant is actually out, there aren't that many high-end players on this slate.
There really aren't. Tyus Jones is obviously the highest end of the high-end players. I have him in every lineup that I've created at this point in time. I don't, barring him getting not ruled as the starter while we're on this show, there's no way that that's going to change. I'm also running 100% of Giannis, so there's that. But if I'm looking at Memphis right now, it's pretty clearly Tyus Jones and Desmond Bane to me. And I think that I'm quite a bit higher on Bane, or I'm going to be higher on Bane than most of the industry at this point. I actually walked him back a little bit before the show after talking with Adam for a bit. I have him in for 35 minutes. That is a number that is higher than every other source that I've looked at today, or at least it was. I can't say if anybody has made those changes. Maybe now that I'm putting those words into the ether. I do see one that was the same as what I had. The reason that I did it, I think, is more important. We've seen 3 games so far this series, and we know that Bane is a little dinged up. I don't really know what to do with that from a minutes perspective. But what I do know is 3 of the last 4 games that Desmond Bane played in the Minnesota series, he went north of 40 minutes, including 43 and 44 in the final 2 games that were played. None of those games were overtime games. So it's not as if I got to lop 5 minutes off. He just played monster minutes. Now, I don't know if he can do that or can't do that, but it feels like down 2-1 and no Ja Morant means Desmond Bane probably needs to play a little bit more. Maybe it's a blowout thing. Maybe it's a back thing and he can't do it, but I don't feel comfortable going any lower than 35 minutes. 36 is where I had it. Adam brought the back stuff up, so I did take 1 minute off, but I'm still 2x the field on Desmond Bane. I think he would like to play 40 minutes. And if you project Desmond Bane for 40 minutes today, he's just as good of a play as Tyus Jones. If you want to discount that a little bit, that's fine. But I can't go low on Bane today, and that's creating a situation where I'm getting him everywhere.
Okay, just curious. I was reading chat. How do we get from Tatum to Bane?
I thought we were talking about Memphis.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he pulled it out.
I legitimately, maybe I misheard you, because I went straight to Tyus Jones. Maybe I misheard you when you said Tatum, and I went to Tyus.
Probably, because you actually do listen. Jordan commented, by the way, earlier. He said one time Josh lagged out of the show with Adam, and Adam begged him to end the stream.
It's true. I don't. You must have said Tatum, and I heard Tyus, and just started going Memphis.
Well, look, the analysis,
I can go to Tatum now if you need me to.
Well, the analysis was necessary anyway. I'm not as worried. We can actually stick with this for a minute. I'm not as worried about the back as I should be, only because what recourse do you really have? You just either assume he's good or you assume he isn't. But Ja Morant has a 36.5% usage rate in this series. 36.5% usage rate. He's seeing 20 potential assists per game. He leads the team in rebound chances in this series. So not to be a broken record with those numbers, but just think about what you're taking off the board with Ja Morant. It's insanity. So like Desmond Bane is going to see opportunities regardless. And at this point, you just have to say, all right, I'll take my chances, because we've seen him have some huge games with Ja Morant sideline.
Absolutely. And I'm hoping that he has one here today. I don't love that I'm basically drawing a line in the sand between Bane and Brooks, but I'm also like, that's sometimes you just got to do that.
Yeah. And if I had to draw the line in the sand between Desmond Bane and Dillon Brooks, I'd very much prefer to be on that side of the sand that is standing next to Desmond Bane.
Yeah, but like that, it also is going to feel really bad when Dillon Brooks takes 28 shots tonight.
He might. Yeah. He also might make 3 of them.
I hope. Today, I hope that that's the case.
But to be fair and to be true to what we talk about here all the time, volume is king. Yeah. Maybe Dillon Brooks' volume is less than king, but it's Prince. Look, to be fair, he's not shooting well.
No.
He will have good games, but the truth, okay, a good game for Dillon Brooks, someone who really doesn't rack up peripherals much anyway, he's going to need some peripherals too, or he's going to need a huge game shooting. Like a huge game.
He's going to need the outlier shooting performance, and then he probably falls into like an extra steal or two, because we're talking about a guy that's projected for like 4 rebounds and 3 assists. He's not just going to he's rarely going to show out and just get like 11 boards. But exactly. If you told me Dillon Brooks got 5 steals, you'd be like, oh, okay, that's fine. I get that.
Yeah, I'll take my lumps. But I love Jaren Jackson today, man. Like I love Jaren Jackson today. He already has a 27% usage rate in this series. With Ja off the floor this year as a 30% usage rate. I'm in the betting video, I went over 15.5 points for Jaren Jackson. He's played 21 games without Morant this year, and he's averaging 18.5 points in 26 minutes. So you're already getting a window there, because he's been pacing 33 to 35 minutes every game this series. It's just blowouts or foul trouble can prevent that. But even if he's in foul trouble, if you get 28 minutes from Jaren Jackson, maybe the matchup isn't great, but he dropped 33 points in game 1. I just think with Ja Morant out, he benefits in such a huge way. I'm willing to risk that foul trouble on a 2-game slate.
I thought I would get a little bit more, but I actually only have 20% of him right now. It's probably another story where I'm getting to a little bit more Bane. Similar price tags. Jackson's $100 more expensive. Maybe it's just a price thing in general. I really did think that he would be showing up, but like,
how many minutes are you giving him?
28. And like, I don't know. I mean, he's an enigma when it comes to that kind of stuff.
I mean, are you factoring just the foul trouble in, or?
Yeah, just like general Jaren Jackson, who knows what he's going to do. Like last 2 games, 28.5. Like I'm ignoring like game context right now. 31 the game before that. Right. He's only crested 30 twice. That's both obviously the final game of the last series and 31 in that first one here. I think 28 feels about right for him.
Which
is giving me about 20% of him.
Let me provide some context though for those games to kind of give you what you were saying about Dre, where you have that minutes upside, right? You have that minutes upside with Draymond Green that he could play more. That is why I like Jaren Jackson. So last game, he lost like almost 6 minutes in a blowout, right? Would have played, I think it was 5 minutes and 40 seconds. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's around there. So you don't really need to. The game before that, he lost around 2 minutes at the end of the first half to foul trouble. So he was around 33 minutes, pacing 33. And then the other game, he fouled out with, I think 4 or 5 minutes to go. So he was, again, on a pace to get around that 34-minute mark. So Taylor Jenkins wants to play. I can say this with certainty, that if Jaren Jackson isn't in foul trouble and it's not a blowout, this dude is playing 33 minutes tonight. But I can't say with certainty that he won't be in foul trouble or it won't be a blowout.
Yeah, there's got to be some sort of discount there for sure, for both reasons.
Right.
This is a 10-point line. You don't see that every day in a playoff matchup. If this one, I mean, the blowout probably doesn't matter a ton. Like, they're going to leave everybody out there pretty late into the fourth, no matter what. That's just how this works when it's a 2-1 series and you go home, basically, if you don't win here.
Yep.
And they're plus 650 to win the series at this point anyway. I wish I had a little bit more. I like Jaren Jackson quite a bit. He's a guy that I want to cheer for. Today is not that day.
Okay. I certainly hope John Morant has a big game today. Rob Martin says, is it okay to ask what we do if John Morant plays? I think it's a very reasonable question, man. In the regular season, I would tell you we don't really need to waste our time. He'd already be out. What?
He'd already be out
in the regular season.
Yeah, in the regular season, we wouldn't even be waiting on a doubtful tag.
We've had 2 situations in the last week where players were out at the beginning of the day.
Yeah.
And then doubtful, and then game time decision, and then they played Devin Booker and Joel Embiid. Right? Like this.
And now they know how much the fine is.
50 grand, right?
Yeah, I think it was 50. It was either 25 or 50, but either way.
I think it was 50.
That's what they need. That's the check they need to cut if they mess around and Ja plays. Although now they don't, because he's just been doubtful the entire time.
Right, instead of out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he didn't go through shoot around. I know that. That is correct. That is not a good sign. Okay.
No.
But Josh just said it. They're down 2-1 in the series. You go down 3-1, you're in trouble. I don't think he plays.
He shouldn't play.
What'd you say?
He shouldn't play.
He should. No, I don't know. I don't think he plays. Crazier shit has happened though. And someone said, do you play Ja if he plays? Yeah, I'm good. Yes.
Yeah.
It's going to suck. Well, I don't even know, because that's the late game anyway.
What do you mean?
It's going to be much more difficult to work a guy that's 10,400 into lineups when you already have Tyus Jones probably in all of those lineups. And now you have to take out your cheapest, best point per dollar guy. You know,
and you've already used Giannis probably.
And you've already used Giannis because you have Tyus Jones.
Yeah.
So what recourse do you really have?
I don't think he'll project all that well either. So
no,
there's also that. But look, they're plus 650 to win the series. They have no reasonable expectation of winning anything of relevance in this season. They are obviously going to be fantastic next year, and based on what they do in the offseason, could conceivably be, a favorite to host a series again next year. Teams are going to look a little bit different, but by all accounts, they should be loaded and better next year. Just move forward. Let these guys get minutes. Don't risk, if he had a broken finger, or if this wasn't a lower body thing, completely different story. But it's a knee. And this is not exactly a guy that's healthy all the time. Put him on ice.
You know what I was wondering today? Do you think anybody you think Jordan Poole catches a hard foul today? No? Oh, I definitely think he does.
No. I don't think anyone's thinking about it at all.
Really? That their best player is on the shelf?
You're not thinking about that during the game. Maybe someone does that garbage in the third quarter if it's a 40-point game or something, but they're just going out and playing in the beginning of the game. Nobody's I got to get revenge for Ja. It's not like a baseball game where you could just hit somebody and move on.
It's coming, bro. I'll tell you right now. He's going to go up for a 3. You're going to see a foot come down. Foot's going to come down right under his. Some Zaza Pachulia, Kawhi Leonard type shit.
No.
That was Zaza, right?
It was.
Yeah. It's not going to be good. Bench is clear. Fans leave their seats.
No.
People are pissing on each other.
What are you? The aristocrats.
Tell that joke. Tell that joke for anyone who doesn't know it.
Should I do it at 7:31?
Dude, PrizePicks will 100%. I don't
think I'm going to get that one over on Tom either.
If you do, the Gilbert version is the greatest thing ever heard, but
Saget's is fantastic too.
Yeah, it is. But all right, couple super chats here. Tweezy Baby 1980, 2v2, Brooks Wiggins or Allen Jackson?
Alan, like the country artist?
I don't know who that is.
Alan Jackson? You don't know who Alan Jackson is?
No, I don't know country music. I'm assuming he means Grayson Allen.
Yeah, I figured. I don't think he meant Alan Jackson. Okay, I need every one of those names again.
Brooks Wiggins or Grayson Allen, Jaren Jackson.
All right, Brooks and Wiggins. I have projected exactly the same, actually. 62.8, 31.4 each. So 62.8. Grayson Allen and Jackson.
Yeah, Jaren Jackson.
54.5. So Wiggins and Brooks is my answer there.
Okay. Jordan sent me.
Although I will say that I have more of Grayson Allen and Jaren Jackson, but the other group projects better.
Comment God. I won $200 from a $5 bet last night. Thanks to you guys. I was in 10th place and only 9 points away from 5K up top. Congrats, man. Nice to see it. Congrats.
It's a good ROI.
We used to frown. We used to not think it was, we didn't want people to call it bets or gambling when you talk about DFS. Remember the Ethan scandal back in the FanDuel days, and they were trying to shut us down everywhere. Dark times, man. Uncertain times.
That got real dicey.
Real dicey. My filler arc. Those two in the sand would be Bane carrying you over hot sand to your partner and Brooks tripping you, then telling your partner you have herpes. That's an interesting way to look at it. Jeff Williams, Bane Melton, or Brooks Wiggins, high dollar DraftKings tournament. Thanks for all you do. Thanks, Jeff. Bane Melton or Brooks Wiggins. Now keep in mind, two of these guys are same team here.
Thanks. It's Bane. Wait, what's Bane Melton?
If you remember, they were on the same team, it would have helped you.
It's Bane Melton.
Yeah. Okay. I thought you were still asking a question. Hey, Josh, you know Lansdale Catholic High School? No, Josh isn't from Lansdale.
I mean, like, I'm sure I've heard it.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that went to Lansdale Catholic, as a matter of fact, Tion. Yeah. They tried recruiting me for football. Same year we were co-champs, 97. Celtics fan. We have at least 4 Boston, 3 Memphis. Oh, tonight. Gotcha. Okay. Thanks again for the super chat. Are we caught up?
Ooh, notable alumni of Lansdale Catholic. There's an interesting one here. Former head coach of the New York Giants, Joe Judge, class of 2000.
Yeah, it's one of my best friend's wife. They dated in high school.
What else do you know?
She was just at Joe Judge's 40th birthday party a couple of weeks. They both went to his 40th a couple of weeks ago. Interesting stuff. Yeah.
Did she like sing happy birthday to him back in the day? Marilyn Monroe style?
I don't know. The truth says Laffy looks like a corn guy. Talking about the band. I mean, I still go. I'll check out their Woodstock performance. Man, what a time!
I mean, like Freak on a Leash is a jam.
Yeah. Did you ever see the Limp Bizkit Woodstock performance from '99? It's one of the.
Oh yeah. Did you watch the documentary or anything?
It's amazing. They ripped the stage apart at Break Stuff. Not
a lot of great people going on there. That got a little dicey.
I would have loved to be there. I'll be completely honest. Like, just to say I was there, I would.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like I'd do pretty well there, but it was pretty gross, though.
Oh, it was disgusting. But again, to be like, hey, I was there.
Yeah.
Kid Rock's ball with the ball. Oh my God.
DMX opening it up.
DMX. Man, the 90s were the great, like that was the greatest time ever. Just the greatest stuff, man. I mean, it's like for the most part pre-internet. It's like the last group of people that got to like screw around and have no digital imprint for it. Yeah, right. Had a lot of fun. Like I still remember like computers teachers giving me my first email address and like explaining what it was. Yeah, me too. Race fan 22. Thoughts on Tice? Can you play him with Williams? I don't really know how much they affect each other. Grant's starting. I guess they do to some extent because we've seen Tice play alongside Al Horford in the first series. So I would say probably you don't want to play them alongside each other, Josh. But they're both very cheap.
I mean, like definitely max 2 of 3 on Horford, Williams, Tice, I think, just because Horford's price is a little bit higher, but Daniel Tice is $3K. You can put him in the same lineup as anyone and it doesn't matter.
Right.
It just like you need like the amount of fantasy points that you need for Daniel Tice doesn't matter to anybody else.
Yeah. How about Alex Baker coming in? Limp Bizkit is still great DFS music. My man. All right.
I just assumed he was listening to Lady Gaga when he makes his DFS lineups. He was just there, I believe.
I know. A Lady Gaga concert. Yeah, Fred Durst, what a character. I saw the way he dressed and I was like, man, I used to wear clothes like that. Like the cargo shorts with the backwards.
I never had that bullshit Yankees hat though, I'll tell you that.
No, but you had backwards fitteds for sure. I guarantee it.
I did.
Yeah. You haven't been doing snapbacks forever. You did them as a kid and then you.
No, I'm going to say this. People are going to think it's nonsense. I predated one Ashton Kutcher in the entire trucker hat rage. I was on that long before.
Jordan is rolling his eyes over there right now, shaking his head. You don't believe it, Jordan?
Josh just, it doesn't, I mean, it makes sense. Josh would wear something that wasn't cool before it was cool, you know?
Yeah. I made it cool. I made it.
Jordan for the top ropes out of nowhere.
I had a great one. It was green and yellow and said Uncle Josh's Bait Company on the front of it. And it was just this like hillbilly dude with a corncob pipe. Fantastic hat.
Oh my God. Connor Bishop, favorite DraftKings center play? Good question. For me, I'm going, Jaren Jackson or Al Horford. I love them today.
Favorite DraftKings center play is I don't have I've got like really crazy center ownership. So I basically am not going to centers. The highest exposed center that I have is Kevon Looney. And it's not with it's not a lot of exposure. I'm at like 20%.
Super spread
I have like
out.
20% on everybody. Looney, Jackson, Horford, Draymond, Tice, Tillman, Brooke Lopez, Bobby Portis. They're all showing up in very minimal amounts.
Okay. All right. So you're just spraying basically at center.
Yeah, I am.
All right. What else haven't we hit on? Oh, Jordan Poole. Where are you at on Poole today? And what do you think the starting lineup looks like?
Pretty healthy amount of Jordan Poole, actually second most exposed Golden State Warrior. I'm 2x the field on him. He's probably like my biggest stand for anybody in that price range. I'm guessing the starting lineup looks like it did last time out with Kuminga. I just think they're more likely to go to a Kuminga to start and then potentially switch again to Porter in the second half. Would I be surprised if they went to Porter right out of the gate in the starting lineup? I wouldn't.
Okay. Hey, we're having so much. We got so deep into the weeds on everything. I forgot to mention PrizePicks, and we got some good. Josh and I got a few of our favorite PrizePicks spots that we're going to hit on right after the show. We'd love to have you stick around with us 10 minutes from now. We're going to hang from 7:30 to 8, and we're gonna have a good time for sure. We're going to talk basketball and whatever else comes to mind. Of course, Jordan's going to be here with us. But yeah, we got some good stuff, and it occurred to me. Yeah, I always talk about all the things that PrizePicks has, like the $100 first match deposit bonus when you use the promo code Awesemo, or the fact that you literally get a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum when you sign up using the link in the description or the one Jordan's putting in the chat right now. Yes, literally everything on the site is free for a month if you sign up. Everything on the site is free for a month if you sign up using the link that we have in the description. We'll hit you up in like 24, 48 hours so you can redeem that, get into our Discord, get all of our tools. But I do think it's cool, Josh, that you can, just like other books, because some places don't do this. You can get on these, you can hit these props and actually build your lineups up until basically tip off. It's a nice little advantage that you have there where you get till 7:40 tonight instead of 7:30 with this first game.
I love PrizePicks, and I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. Wasn't listening to a single bit of that read.
That's
I
why.
got caught up in that Lansdale Wikipedia where I looked it up and I was just like, oh, I wonder if there's a Wikipedia for my high school. And then you were just like, PrizePicks.
Is there a Wikipedia for your high school?
No.
I
was looking for like notable alumni, which I knew was going to show up with basically me. Like it's not going to be all that great.
If Adam wasn't listening when I did a read, don't blame him at all. That's different because you do your own thing. But yeah, what I was saying is you can, like PrizePicks, you can still make lineups basically all the way up until tip off, which I love. And
it's a great site.
It is 100% first match deposit bonus. You're building lineups with props, just taking the over or the under. There's no juice on either side. And there's a million different props you can choose from. So you can also do cross sport stuff. If you think, if you know hockey, if you know basketball, baseball, or you just want to use our free PrizePicks NBA prop tool or use OddsShopper or all of our player prop tools over at Awesemo, do that, take advantage of it, and check it out. Use the promo code Awesemo and use that link. Get a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. That's tools for every site, for every sport. All right. So who do we yet to talk about? And like what important spots have we not, because we hit on, we don't need to talk about Tyus Jones. Yeah, that's, D'Anthony Melton's an interesting one.
Sure. I got another one for you if you want it.
Yeah, please.
I'm way under the field on Melton right now. I'm a little nervous that he doesn't get the same sort of bump that people are going to expect. Adam mentioned it. I think they're live to go to more John Conchar. I think they're live to go to Kyle Anderson as a ball handler over Melton. He's also live to play 30 minutes. Like I am a little nervous about it. I think there's a lot of upside there. But I am pretty light on Melton. I'm taking a shot on Kuminga at 3,300 today. He is projected for 7.5% ownership the last that I looked. He has played, well, obviously he started the last time out, 17, 14, and 15 minutes over the past 3. I think that they are trying to get him a little bit more involved and get him some more minutes. Wouldn't be surprised if he played a little bit more. It's just a different look. But if Jonathan Kuminga maintains that spot in the starting lineup, maybe that we see his ownership go up a little bit. But at 3,300, I think there's a lot of value there. And I see other guys in that price range that are pulling a bit more ownership that I don't totally agree with. So I'm willing to take the shot on Kuminga. He's a really solid per minute guy. You don't need a ton at 3,300. He's 4,200 on FanDuel, so he kind of prices you out there. But on DraftKings, I think he's getting slept on a bit.
I have zero problem with Kuminga, and I guess the question is, who would you rather go to if we're just talking about in a vacuum? Not even because they're all around the same price. Would you rather go to Kuminga? Say you're doing a single entry lineup, right, in a tournament. Yeah, sure. Kuminga. Would you rather go to Kevon Looney or would you rather go to Daniel Theis? They're all within $300 of each other.
Yeah, that is the perfect way to look at this too, at this moment, given what their prices are.
Right.
I would significantly prefer going to Jonathan Kuminga over Kevon Looney and Daniel Theis. I think right out of the gate, easiest thing to talk about is the fact that at the very least, I think Kuminga is a slightly better fantasy performer than Kevon Looney, and he is unquestionably a better fantasy performer than Daniel Theis. I assume they have similar minutes outlooks. I think that if Looney perhaps plays slightly less minutes, I think that's a benefit to Kuminga. So then I'm sort of just comparing Kuminga to Theis. I can't go... While Theis's minutes upside might be a little bit higher just from a foul trouble perspective for Boston, we also get the benefit of Kuminga playing additional run if Golden State really does smack Memphis in this one. So I just, at sub 10% ownership, there aren't a ton of places where you can just find a way to be different in your lineup that isn't all that outlandish for you to just get 18 to 20 minutes out of Kuminga and he scores 20 fantasy points, and all of a sudden you just have to have him at that price tag.
No doubt.
Especially with unlocking, the Giannis's of the world.
I'm going to ask you a couple other ones here, some 1v1s that I think could help some people. Would you rather go Melton or would you rather go Brook Lopez, say, utility spot? They're $200 separated.
I have the exact same amount of both guys, but I have DeAnthony Melton projected quite a bit better than Brook Lopez. And I think there's a lot more upside to Melton than there is to Lopez. So I would go to Melton in that scenario.
Okay. How about we got to there? I'm just trying to get to, put a bow on this one, get some finishing touches, some of the important stuff here. Oh, Jrue Holiday.
Yeah.
With Jrue, he's just kind of in that no man's land of price tier where it's like he's not mid-range and he's not top tier. Are you getting the Jrue?
Yeah. He's my third most exposed player today.
He is.
Yeah.
Okay. Super chat from I did hit that, Jordan. Yeah, we hit that.
Drew's price is just, to me, not correct at 8K on DraftKings for his role. He's 8,600 on FanDuel. I think that looks a little bit more reasonable. I'm surprised more people aren't on Jrue today.
Yeah, I mean, without Chris Middleton, it definitely makes a difference. You don't know JD, last man in on FanDuel. Thanks for the super chat too. Single entry, and thanks. We're 613 likes. I mean, we're just crushing here. You think 1,700, or you think 700 is doable in the final 3 minutes?
3 minutes? No, but if you mean until 8 o'clock, yeah.
Well, I was wondering if we could do it in the final 2 minutes now. I mean, that's
only one way to find out. Hit that like button. 800 spot. Put it up there.
Yeah. Last man in, Grant Williams or Otto Porter. I have Horford and Brown and no Golden State. Grant Williams or Otto
That's
Porter.
FanDuel too, right?
Yes. FanDuel. He has Horford and Brown and no Golden State.
I'd go Porter.
Okay.
I think they're basically the same guy. So I would just get away from that third Boston guy.
All right. Any final thoughts before we turn this one over? We're not going anywhere. We are hanging out for the next 30 minutes. I'm going to pour myself a tasty beverage and turn the fan on because it's getting warm in here.
All right.
Final thoughts?
Not really. I'm ready to watch some basketball. That's for sure. Now is the time that you should be going to pour yourself that beverage and turn your fan on while I do this nonsense. Do you not have to get up to do that? Do you have a remote that brings you? Do you have one of those Amazon robots that'll bring you a drink, or is your gal in the room?
That'd be sick if I had a drone, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm. Soon enough, man. I mean, it exists already.
What's that?
They exist already.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They drop like packages and shit.
No. Like robots that'll bring you shit.
I'd be very uncomfortable getting murdered in my sleep, honestly.
I mean, you got a bunch of guns.
If they, but my sleep, Josh, in my sleep.
Well, close your door.
Yeah, but what if they're just smart and they learn how to pick locks? Or they're just.
Then you're dead anyway, man.
Haven't you seen those Boston Dynamic ones where they do? And I'm not talking about
do parkour.
No, those. I'm not talking about the fake ones, which are hilarious. But a lot of those. No. I know what you're saying. A lot of those. There's a lot of Boston Dynamic videos that are faked. People like spoof. It's true. What
about the real ones where they walk upstairs and jump over boxes and stuff?
Horrifying. You're telling me that thing can bust your door down and kill you while you sleep?
Well, yeah, but we're talking about a technology that is coming immediately, not 50 years from now. If it's going to bust your door down, then deal with it now. Make friends with it. Be nice. If you
doesn't work like that, man.
The way my wife speaks to our speakers,
robot,
Alexa type stuff, just so condescending, so quick, and then she won't respond. She'll get all pissy
I'd
about
kill
it.
Alexa in her sleep sometimes if I could, for sure.
I try to be as nice as I possibly can for when the eventual merging of our technologies happens, so that they don't just take me over.
And you think that the new robot asks Alexa, so how's this guy treated you over the years? And she's like, great, but the wife, wife.
Yeah, they have every piece of data ever on you. Everything that I've ever done, they know. So yes, I think that they know that my wife is mean to our speakers.
So do you think they'd spare you? You just wake up next to,
I hope,
a mess. And
I think I'm really nice to my technology.
That's crazy. So
everybody should be.
You've never lashed out at Siri?
Well, I mean, I'm team Amazon here. This is like it's like
every other thing. I know you have an iPhone. I know you have an iPhone now. Oh, so go ahead.
Look, I don't think that the Apple version, I don't want to say it because I've got my watch here, I've got my phone here, I just don't need it to respond to me. I don't think the Apple version is as good. I think Amazon's is like the prompt works really quickly. It's fast. I get the right answers. Apple is behind the 8 ball a little bit.
Alexa's markedly better than Siri. It's not even a question. I have, except
I got all 3 of them.
Every time what's up?
I got all 3 of them. I got a Google one too.
I do, and I never use. When I was working for Sirius, they sent me a couple of them, like to try them out and I never opened them because what am I going to do with them? What am I going to do? Anyway,
be nice to your speakers, man.
We still have, Alexa, I love you. Can you hear this?
I know she's responding. What did she say?
Alexa, off. No, she started playing a song called "Thanks for Saying I Love You."
Oh, well,
that's
nice.
A quick prompt. Like I didn't pause or anything. She's on it.
Ask her to make a fart noise.
I've done that before. I've done that. You used to be able, and I got some great prize picks coming up because we still have 8 minutes. No, we still got 8 minutes.
We do.
Because they let you go all the way up until tip off. You used to be able to ask Siri. This is when the iPhone was brand new. Some of you guys will know this. Some of you were old enough to remember and had an iPhone. You'd ask, where can I hide a dead body? And she'd be like, I found the closest swamps, quarries, lakes, and all that.
That's helpful.
That was real. That was real. Or you'd say, I want to see some tits. And she'd pull up all the closest strip clubs. She did some wild stuff back in the day and they pulled it. It was just fun. It was funny stuff to show your friends, like, hey, watch this.
We were laying in bed one night, didn't give the speaker the prompt. And all of a sudden, all we heard was, and we were like, what in the world?
See, man,
unprompted.
Got a personality. Over on PrizePicks, sponsor of the show, where you get a free month for signing up. Literally just sign up using our link and you get a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum, everything on our site for whether it's DraftKings, FanDuel, Yahoo, whatever you want, and all our PrizePicks. The PrizePicks stuff is free. And if you use the promo code Awesemo, you get a $100 first match deposit bonus. Bing, bang, boom. But there's a couple I like. I mentioned a little bit earlier, but Jaren Jackson over 15.5 points. Just the fact that Ja isn't expected to play to me it's a huge advantage for Jaren Jackson. And he averages almost 19 points in 21 games without Ja this season. And that's in 26.7 minutes. Also, I'll get you the early game ones. I mentioned it to you earlier, Josh. I am going over 23. They have it at 23.5. Now let's see if they changed it.
By the way, I have Jackson at 16.3, so I don't disagree with your over.
Okay. Oh, did they pull all Boston though? It said it's 740. That sucks.
They're already playing. It's 45 seconds in.
Oh, that's crazy because on PrizePicks it said 740. You know the problem is playoff start times are different.
Oh, Jesus. Jason Tatum just took an open 3 and missed by 5 feet.
You can still get in on this Horford though if you're looking at other books. You can still get in. Live prop betting can be super profitable.
Yeah.
You got anything for the late game that you like?
Hit me with a couple of them and I'll let you know where I land.
All right. So let me go.
We have the PrizePicks player prop tool on Awesemo.com pulled up, ready to go.
Yep. Desmond Bane over 25.5 points, rebounds, and assists.
I mean, based on what I have, I assume that I'm way over that number. 25.5, you said? I got him at
over 25.5 points, rebounds, and assists.
I got it at 30. So obviously that's one I'm going to be making a big push for.
Think before you type. Said, ask Siri her boyfriend Hal. Say, who is Hal? Do you know this one?
No.
All right, hold on. Let me take
Siri.
Put it up to
Who is Hal? I'm not sure I understand.
Well, you blew it, man. Not you. Hey, Siri. Now, my phone's all fucked up anyway. Probably won't work. I don't know. Klay Thompson over 28.5 points, rebounds, and assists.
Who is Hal?
Interesting question.
I mean, come on, guy. You set
Nailed
us
it,
up.
dude. Thanks for that.
You set us up, and she goes full dummy on us.
Full what?
Dummy.
Oh. Is it ever something else?
Not on live streams. It's not.
No.
All
What was the next one you just gave me?
Klay Thompson over 28.5 points, rebounds. He's so volatile that I hate taking Klay Thompson like point rebounds and assist props.
I got him at 29.5 or 29.2. So it's not one that I would touch, but I will say that I have precisely 8% Klay Thompson, which is 1/3 the field.
Adam and I were talking this morning, like who could be a guy that breaks the slate? It could be, it could be Jaren Jackson if he does play 35 minutes today.
Yeah.
Klay Thompson's always capable too when he scores 38 real points.
I was going to say, you could drop 40.
Yeah.
You make 9 threes.
Yep. Absolutely. He could do all of that. So those are guys where I'd rather play him in DFS I'd rather play a Thompson in DFS than bet him because you just have no idea from night to night,
Very true.
All right. Curry. What about last one? Curry, 39.5 points, rebounds, and assists. This is interesting because Poole's been so good.
Curry, 39.5 was the number you said?
Yeah.
39.2.
All right. Do you want to hear this story that I read in the New York Post today?
Sure.
Okay. Now, PrizePicks, I love you. Everyone sign up there. Free $100 or $100 match deposit bonus and a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum when you do. There's no reason not to. Let me just talk for 30. Give me 15 seconds here.
All righty.
Build up.
So I'm assuming the next 15 seconds of this show is going to be the last 15 seconds that we're ever able to hear. I have a sneaky suspicion he's about to bury us as a channel. So it's been great, guys. Look for us somewhere else because Laffy's going to ruin it all.
All right. So here's the story.
Okay.
All right.
You read this in the New York Times, you said?
New York Post. You're not
okay.
Is this extraordinary story about to have a Hollywood ending? Malcolm McDonald,
is that the guy that's in our chat all the time?
No. Malcolm McDonald, a divorced dad who had an artificial penis crafted onto his forearm after his real willy dropped on the floor, has attracted. Oh, dude.
They wrote Willie?
Dude, his penis.
Are you editorializing or is that written?
No, I don't use that word. I was actually uncomfortable saying it. His penis fell off one day onto the floor.
Mine might as well at this point.
So they put one onto his arm. And it's been there for 6 years.
Is there a picture?
Yes. It's blurred though. You can't. This guy,
like out of the forearm?
This guy, he can't go into school zones with a short sleeve shirt on.
Is it big? Did they give him the goods?
I don't know if they just picked it off the floor and attached it to the arm or they made a new one.
Oh, I mean, if mine's just falling off of me and breaking free from my body, and I'm not taking my old one back. I'm like, that one's defective. I need a cadaver that didn't look like me.
So you might look at it as a blessing.
I mean, it's probably gonna be a tough sell for a bit to the gal. Do they rewire you? Like, do they change? Do they run new pipes?
Attach it to your bladder?
That's one.
Bladder's not what you were thinking of.
No, I wasn't really worried about that part.
I think he was a drug addict and he got a blood infection, right? And
I'm just picturing being like Spider-Man, being like,
wiener just dropped. I'm telling you right now, when I say a true horror story, can you think of anything more horrifying than that? Like walking down the steps and it's just straight like Mr. Garrison, when it's running away throughout the South Park episode. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
It's a slinky, just down the steps, around the bend, and gone.
Are you just bleeding then?
Or that's why I told you it's the craziest story I've ever heard.
But the balls stayed?
I don't know.
Did he get forearm balls too?
That
would be awful.
Oh, dude, they just toss him on the shoulder.
Oh, you could be like knocking them into like countertops and stuff. It'd be awful.
Well, yeah, and this poor guy is like, when I go out to the bar and stuff, they make jokes about it. And he's like,
no
well,
shit.
yeah. And he's like, I get it. It is kind of funny. And it's like, yes, dude, at least you understand. This is the wildest thing I've ever heard.
I'm so fat. Like, obviously, there's going to be some lads and ladies that are going to be into that. So, like, people are going to want to use it.
I was going to say though, you could do some low down stuff. Like if you're at a movie theater, you could just like, you're a movie theater with your girl, you just put your arm.
I mean, it's no different. Like, well, like it really, to me, it depends on like where it's coming out.
Yeah, we're not working again after tonight.
No, like where would you want it?
Like forearm or bicep, you mean?
Or
Dude,
just like in general,
curls,
like if you have a different spot.
Bicep curls would be the worst. Just like, ow, ow.
Chin would be great.
No, you can't do that.
Why?
You can't do that.
Tell that to elephants, man.
You can't do chin.
Why?
You can't.
Oh yeah, with forearms, so normal.
At least you can wear a long sleeve shirt.
Yeah, until you see something awesome, and all of a sudden it's like, yo, the dude's shirt is popping out of the side.
Imagine you go to fight someone, like, and he just rolls his sleeves up, and you're like, what the fuck?
You get a fear boner.
Oh,
I mean, man, okay, no, they couldn't have reattached his previous one.
No, they grew it.
They grew it?
I think they grew it.
You can grow them?
I think so.
Oh man,
Jordan, can you do some
the moment that I could buy one on Amazon, it's mine.
Jordan, can you be young Jamie for a minute and look up
give it a go?
You want me to Google this in my search history?
Not on the screen.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
It's a New York Times article, man.
Okay,
New York Post.
Whatever.
Right,
Sorry,
this isn't like, we're not talking about some, dark web.
Yeah.
All right, let's check out the box score. It's almost 800.
Jordan, so like, would that be the weirdest thing you Google? Like, what are these other things that you're completely fine Googling?
I'm going incognito mode. Just for
Guitar Man said, wow, I will take two, one for each hand.
Well, yeah, so like that was my first thought. I would probably want more than one, but I'm upgrading for sure.
But hold on, you wouldn't do this if it meant losing the other. You would just like be interested in an arm wiener.
I mean, I would upgrade if I could.
No, but I mean, you'd still keep the other. Like you're not replacing.
No, I'm pretty happy with where it's located.
That's what I mean.
I think that feels like the spot.
Right.
You didn't even say the headline of this article. It says, "Man who grew penis on arm wants to date Kate Beckinsale." Did you?
Yeah. I should have.
To be fair, so do I. She's gorgeous.
Oh, I love Kate Beckinsale. In Click. Right? In Click.
Yeah, I can't listen to the Cranberries because of that movie now, because of her.
Oh, I cried during that movie. I'm not kidding.
I
when he was
uncontrollably bald in the road
when he was on the
raining.
pavement in the rain, I legit cried during Click. I'm not afraid.
I couldn't watch that right now, man.
Not afraid to say it.
No,
and when he woke up, I was like, oh my God.
It was aggressive. Now, with that said, I would absolutely take that remote control and hit fast forward still. I would not learn my lesson.
No, never. Man, Tatum, damn, he has 2 rebounds already.
So Kate Beckinsale, like, this wasn't out of the blue. So Kate Beckinsale actually posted on her Instagram a photo of the article, and like the guy who grew the thing on his arm, like he now wants to, go on a date with her. So that's where that came from.
Pete Davidson gave her the business. Good for him.
That's crazy. He's like 27 years old, and he's just going around getting it done with everybody.
With the tip of the spear.
I'm not big on Kim, but Kate, yeah.
But like, I mean, that's a trophy. That's a trophy
in
fish.
terms of just like popular, yes, yeah.
You'd do it. Fame. You would do it married.
What?
I would do it right now.
Oh, I didn't know you meant.
Like, that's just, it's too important. It's too important.
You. That's good stuff.
Like it's not even up for debate. Like you just have to. You don't have a choice.
You would just like snap.
I don't think it's even up for debate.
You just straight.
I mean, I wouldn't even take it off. I can't imagine she'd care. But like this goes the same way. Like if Justin Timberlake propositions my wife, she's got free reign. Go for it.
Yeah.
Tape it. Yeah.
But you wouldn't get cucked though. Like you wouldn't watch. Don't say yes.
I mean, there's obviously Justin Timberlake, man.
I don't care.
I mean, I probably would.
Wait,
like in the room? No. But
no.
I'd check the video.
Yeah. I mean, that's less egregious. That's less egregious.
It's not. It's such a massive amount of celebrity.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, Kim, like, I'm not an Ariana Grande guy, but, that's another spot Pete got to pretty early. This is, uber famous.
Yeah.
You just got to do it.
Right.
You just got to do it. It's not like, she's the third lead on Riverdale. You're not going to be able to pull that one off.
All right. Let me take a look at some numbers here.
Okay. Is it the number of dollars PrizePicks willing to give us now? Because it's got to be way lower.
I mean, the link is broken. But
uh-oh.
Oh, damn. All right.
That went better than I thought it was going to.
To be fair, Tom, I have been all night. So
I saw that pop up and got real nervous.
Me too.
I knew it wasn't going to be bad, but I knew the direction we needed to go.
In case anyone's wondering, our CEO is currently listening to this show. So
yes.
Yeah. Hey, Tom. So first off, Jrue Holiday off to a very good start.
Good.
Everybody else Wes Matthews, that's to be expected. Al Horford, though, 4 points, a rebound, got himself a block. Jason Tatum is just simply not shooting through the first few minutes. Grant Williams has nothing. You don't have one guy outside of Jrue that you're looking at right now going, okay, yeah, off to a great start. It's still very early. Don't get me wrong, but
I have half the field. If we use our actual ownership as whatever's real, I had half the field on Boston, and basically only Jrue and Giannis on the Milwaukee side. I have 76% of aggregate ownership to not Giannis and Jrue, and we had 86 projected. So I'm just heavier on Memphis Golden State, so I'm not mad about this.
Yeah, I that's the thing, right? If you're super heavy on, and it's still, again, it's really early in this game, really early. If you're overweight on Memphis and you just decided to go like straight, if you just decided to go very heavy Memphis, and which I don't like, if Ja plays, you're fucked. But if Ja's out, it's not out of the realm of possibility to think like, okay, you went Giannis and then maybe you go Curry or whatever, you go another top tier guy, and it's not Tatum or Jaylen Brown, and then you've surrounded it with, I know you're not huge on Melton, but Melton or Tyus Jones, or the two of them together, Jaren Jackson, Desmond, and a little bit of mid-range. It's very possible, because this is a desperation spot for Memphis too. I'm not convinced that they just come out flat, and they're a good team without Ja Morant. They're not as good as Golden State, especially with Jordan Poole playing the way he is. But let's not act like they're just going to completely lay down. They still got some shooters.
Absolutely. And you can get more of those takes from Laffy and the rest of Awesemo.com by using the promo code Luca for 7 days at $7.
That is true. This is very true. And if nothing else, you will not become Malcolm McDonald. No. But no, in all seriousness,
unless you want to,
probably a very expensive procedure. In all seriousness, I told you earlier, there's no point in even trying to sell something like this, because it's a no-brainer. No, it is. It's $1 a day. It's every tool on our site. You just go to awesemo.com/promos and click Luca, and you have everything for every single sport. You guys know that. You got to be a new. I already checked the numbers, dude. They're through the roof on this because you'd be insane not to do it. So yeah, it's the best promo we've done in a very long time, probably since like one of those big holiday promos. So
yeah, we don't do a ton of like full platinum ones. Like before the NFL season, we'll usually drop like a pretty decent one as we're ramping up into like the big times. But this is a pretty excellent, we've got baseball live, NBA playoffs, hockey playoffs, golf every week, MMA every week, F1 now, USFL.
Yeah.
We've just got a ton of stuff behind the paywall. This is a great time to check it out.
So if you missed out on the $1 weekly F1 promo, I mean, this is the one. But yeah, check it out. And we got the premium Discord too. Office hours, you guys know, where you got guys like Steve Buzzard, one of the best players out there, and a bunch of other pros coming in and answering your questions and help you better your game. So fun place to be, man, and a great community.
I gave a lesson on FC randomness today in Discord that I think was pretty good.
People ask all the time if we have, we have like a whole learn tab, but the fantasy cruncher stuff that you do it's invaluable for people learning it, because you want to talk about a daunting task. Learning fantasy cruncher for someone that's never used it, completely overwhelming.
I don't think about it all that often. I've been using fantasy cruncher for 8 years.
Once you get the hang of it though, like it's simple. I'm saying it's there. I'm not this shouldn't dissuade anyone from using it. What I'm saying is having the tools when I first started using it, it was brand new. Like you said, there was nobody to teach you. You just had to figure it out as you went along.
I had Dave teach me.
Did you?
Yeah.
But now we have
from the horse's mouth.
Now we have actual stuff to get you there. So it's good stuff. What's the score on this game?
20-something to 11.
Speaking of wild procedures, I just saw a procedure. A guy stretched himself 3 inches. And I'm not talking about the penis on the arm. I'm talking about his actual body. 3 inches. He's 3 inches taller now after a lengthy and expensive procedure. Seems ridiculous.
Might as well just get the robot legs.
Oh man, Norm Macdonald had a great one on what was his name? Oscar Pistorius, the guy that killed his wife.
Allegedly.
Yeah. He's like, no, I don't think he should be allowed to run in the Olympics. He's on rocket ships. He's like, you need to be a biped, which I thought was the funniest line ever. Anyway, appreciate you. We still got over 600 people hanging out. 13 likes away from 700. And Tom did tell us I won't give it away, but I hit you up yesterday after speaking with him. We do have something very exciting likely coming down I know you're stoked about this. I'm very happy about this. If you guys enjoy these type of shows, where granted, like with basketball, we may have found a way to all sweat the game together while watching it at the exact same time with no lag, no delay, nothing whatsoever on the exact same screen with the same chat. You should be pumped about this. Hopefully it comes through, because if it does, we're going to be having a lot of fun in the conference finals and the NBA finals, Josh.
Dude, I legitimately am like crazy excited for this.
Me too. I hope you guys will come hang out, because I think we'll have an absolute blast. I really do.
If you enjoyed any bit of that, whether it was the 2K Sims or just Laffy and I getting drunk and watching finals games together, if you enjoyed any of that, it's that, but better.
Honestly, this isn't hyperbole. It's 10 times better, because everyone can watch together. You and I couldn't watch it together because we weren't synced. Yeah. And then we couldn't watch it with the audience together. Now,
I had to go. I had like a TV antenna out the window, like a random TV somewhere. It's just going to be great. It's going to be great. Yeah. Everybody is going to want to be involved.
I hope so. It's going to, I can't wait. So yeah, Caleb said, sounds like a blast. I hope you guys will join us, and don't be then. I love you too, brother. Appreciate it. I'm not going to read that first part, but yeah, appreciate you, man.
Larry, it was in the basketball channel at 4:00 today. Eastern time, something in that neighborhood. Just search messages from me. There's not going to be a lot after it. So you'll get there immediately.
Yeah. We'll have a lot of fun.
It's going to be great, man. It's going to be great.
Cohiba, suck my forearm has a whole new meaning. Yeah, it does. Certainly does.
Man, I would be just, man, you go out one night and you're like, hey, I got something to show you.
What do you think of this?
Yeah. She'd be like, oh, it's an arm. Yeah, but what about this? Just pokes her.
It's a parm.
It's a piece. It's a parm. Ooh, I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. How
All
good
right.
is chicken parm?
Man, Horford looking okay. Horford looking all right.
I don't care about your bet. I care about my
Jrue
lineups.
I care about all of my bets. All of them. Tatum's grabbing too many rebounds, though. I'm not a fan of that at all. Kickstart, when's this shindig we're talking? I don't know yet. I promise you guys, especially you guys that hang out with us on these after shows, will be the first people we tell. We plan on doing some fun stuff, and we may even have Josh reveal a lip tattoo.
Maybe we can live stream our lunch too next week.
Oh, we're definitely doing something. Definitely doing something.
Oh yeah.
Have some fun.
Yeah.
Jordan Klein, as always, appreciate you, man. Appreciate you hanging out all night long. What are you gonna say,
Katie and I went out to dinner Friday night, just for like, light apps and stuff. We got some oysters. The question came up because I just said bring me as many as you want. It's not going to make a difference. I'm going to make them all disappear. And she's like, how many oysters do you think you could eat? And I was just like, I mean, a couple hundred. Like if I could eat 100 pizza bites, obviously 100 oysters is immediate. Like that's just going to go away.
Easy.
It's got to be like 200 or 300.
You
think about the amount of volume in 100 pizza bites and how light an oyster is.
You think you could put back 300 oysters? Put down 300 oysters?
I think 200 is just easy. That just happens. I don't even think I noticed 200. 25 minutes.
Let's cook up.
That's going to be really expensive.
I was just going to say, yeah, that's
couple $100. But
I think Jordan's right though. I don't know, just the fact, I love seafood and I'll put it down, but 300 oysters, there might be something there that kills you. Like there might be something that kills you.
No. I mean, if 100 pizza bites didn't kill me, because they aren't even made out of real objects. That's like disodium phosphate.
Oh, it's just processed.
Yeah, it's just an oyster.
All right. Yeah, one of them's made in a lab. The other one's in the ocean. So I got you.
Yeah.
Would you rather have oysters or mussels in red sauce?
Oysters.
I like them both. I love mussels with bread though. Love
it. I would rather do mussels in like a garlic butter broth.
I like that too. Dude, I did some surf and turf today. I grilled some steaks, made some crab cakes, asparagus.
Nice.
A little bit of 4 cheese noodles on the side. Those things are great. Throw them right in.
I love food.
Me
and on
too,
that note,
man.
I'm
going to go eat some food right now.
I'm on my way to Chick-fil-A immediately.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Shout out to Jordan Klein. Appreciate you guys watching. As always, remember PrizePicks, free month of Awesemo plus Platinum. Just use the link in the description down below when you sign up, and you get a free $100 or you get a $100 match deposit bonus. We will see you guys tomorrow on the Strategy Show. Back here tomorrow, deeper dive live before lock, all that good stuff. Have a good rest of the night. Peace.